Okay. Look, I'm live. Hi. I don't think anybody's here yet, but that's okay. We'll get going anyway. Hi, everybody. Welcome to FreeThinkers Fireside, where you put the human and humanist one cozy chat at a time. I am Helen, also known as House Bells, and this week guest is Jason Friedman, who is one of the coolest cats I know and one of my dear friends. So I'm going to have him come on and introduce his own damn ass. So I'm going to have that happen. So let's everybody say hi, Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Helen. Hey, bud. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, honey?
I'm doing real great, man. I'm excited that you're doing this. You're like volunteer of the decade, so the fact that you've even been able to find time to do this is amazing. You got a good fellow over there with Todd, so.
Oh, thank you. John's here. Hi, John.
Hi,
Todd. John's here. John is here.
John. John. Awesome. Hi, John.
Okay, so since this is going to go up on YouTube later. We'll be playing later. Tell the people who you are and what do you do?
All right. I guess I'll start. My name's Jason Friedman. How we know each other, we met talking through the ACD Discord. Used to be the ACA Discord. Now it's the ACD Discord. I got interested in that because I started going down kind of like a philosophy, psychology, theology rabbit hole on YouTube, and I stumbled across the ACA, and the discussions there were great. And I just, how do I get involved with this? Never heard of Discord, never heard of any of that stuff. And I got on there, and I was going through some shit around that time too, and looking for some people. And I ended up, talking to Helen, hitting off with you. And then after a while, our good friend Kelly Laughlin started, and our buddy Nate Smith, and some other people started encouraging me to get involved with ACD Discord, or now ACD Discord, and then with the ACA. So we were on secular sexuality together. We've done. We had Brain Matters. We did some Brain Matters stuff together because I hosted a kind of a discussion group, psychology lecture, interview, group therapy-ish kind of group on the ACD for about a year and a half, maybe year and a half. Mm-hmm. So we did some shit on there together. Yeah, it was for a while. Yeah, I had to. Some life stuff happened, finished school, finished my undergrad, and I interned over with the ACA with my psychology undergrad. I've got on top of other schooling, what's pertinent to this, I've got a undergrad in psychology, a Bachelor of Science. I've got a degree in biology. I've worked in animal research. We've done in surgery. We've done neuro research on chimpanzees, worked with pigs, worked with rabbits, worked with dogs, a lot of blood and guts, so research is brutal, but, sadly it's necessary. But, I don't know, just have a bunch of schooling, currently work in metallurgy, was recently accepted for a graduate program here at University of Houston, Master's of Science. They invited me to join it. Yeah, and it's more or less for criminal psychology. It's a science degree, good springboard for. I'd like to eventually get my PhD, but graduate first, and then see if I can move on from there. But I currently volunteer with the ACA. I do nonprofits. I do some shows. I've done all of them except for AXP. I guess, yeah, right. AXP.
Oh, you got more than I have.
And then
no, that's not true. I haven't done AXP. I have, because I did talk Heathen over the summer. So
yeah, fair. The only one I haven't done is AXP. And I hope to bug Katie enough to let me do that at some point. I'll just go harass Greg at some point.
All right, the rule is
I don't know.
Katie.
I love Katie. I played a bunch of punk rock bands and metal bands. Playing a band called Verbal Abuse. Our kind of claim to fame is that we're, Slayer's favorite band. If you look, they do a cover record called Undisputed Attitude. They cover like 5 of our songs. So we got a new record coming out. Yeah. So playing a band called The Burden, playing a band called Poacher. It's all, very aggressive underground hardcore punk music. The thing that kind of attracts me to like atheist community stuff and atheist activism is that's what we've been doing in our scene and in our realm for years. So to see, I guess, what I would call normal people, it's not a slight, but like just, not people with tattoos on their faces and covered in tattoos, listening to weird music, into goth and whatever, actually kind of talking about the same things that we're talking about. I felt a need to align and start involved because, you know, we've fought Nazis and we've chased off abortion protesters, and you know, we definitely we support trans rights. We do all those things within our community that it seems the ACA and other communities do, and I feel like the more we merge together, the more united of a front we have. So yeah, that's what I do. Got a family, you know, working metallurgy right now.
The usual shit.
Yeah, usual shit, you know. So, but yeah, that's me. That's me in a nutshell right now.
All right, awesome. So, so you picked this topic because the whole point of the show is that my guest gets to pick the topic they want to talk about. So, I'm curious why you wanted to talk about this particular topic, especially since you're the type of person that studies this type of stuff.
Well,
I give me the whole thing.
Well, I think okay.
Let the audience know.
Yeah. So I think for at least our realm of stuff that we kind of do with activism, religious trauma is a very it's there. Like a lot of people deal with it. We being queer, having a lot of queer friends all across the spectrum. You know, all the letters, all the initials. A lot of people here living in Texas and living in the South. You live in the South. I live in Texas. Queer people don't really fare well when the majority of religion is evangelical Protestantism. And then in my state, Protestantism, Catholicism, and a very conservative version of it, not a progressive version. So there's a lot of people who've been traumatized, including myself. Also, like you mentioned, it because of it's what I study. Some of my final papers in my undergrad were investigating religious trauma and its strong relation to CPTSD, which is complex PTSD. But how there's like different dynamics to it just due to what it kind of deals with, like the everything type of problem. So you see CPTSD, but it seems to be heightened. And there seem to be other elements that people have to deal with in order to deal with religious trauma, because there's a lot of social elements. You know, CPTSD could be isolated to being traumatized time and time again by your parent, right? But what if your society is what traumatizes you? What if when you step out of the house, you're a target? You know, whenever your parent, you can focus on that, work on that. Good trauma therapy, you can recover from that. That's great. But what happens when every person is your parent? What happens when the law is your parent? What happens whenever every political and social structure, every media outlet, everything like that you're around is aimed to villainize you and to traumatize you at every step? That's what religious trauma is kind of highlighting, is the massive scale of the trauma and how it's ongoing. So it's extremely interesting to me. I've been in therapy for it. I can still go to therapy for it. Having been diagnosed autistic, being autistic with trauma is a normal experience. But being autistic with CPTSD and having a lot of religious trauma mixed in with that is definitely an interesting thing to deal with in your 40s, you know, to start dealing with. So it's interesting to me because I'm working through it. It's interesting to me because the people I care about work through it. It's interesting because trauma or they tend to, you tend to be a walking target a lot of times when you're autistic, and whenever you're queer, you tend to be a target, at least implicitly with the autism and explicitly with the queerness. A lot of people don't even realize that they're, I don't know, accidentally traumatizing you for being autistic. So you can combine all those things together and you have a smorgasbord of trauma, I guess. So that's the kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah. It's funny because there's some stuff that recently happened, and I realized that when you're neurospicy, that we don't deal well with ambiguity. And
no, not at all.
Not at all. I like just tell me, just tell me in the street. And religion does a lot with that ambiguity, because it all is ambiguity, because nothing of it can be proven. So it doesn't live up to any sort of facts. And also, like, because people kind of live in that ambiguity space within religion,
Yeah.
when you are, on the spectrum, it can cause a lot of unintentional confusion, and the person that is trying to speak to you is not intentionally trying to be an asshole most of the time, but because there's that disconnect there, they
You
see it
can.
as you're not listening, and it can be interpreted as being rebellious, or not listening, or not getting what people are saying, and that can lead to some other difficult social situations that we're not particularly good at navigating a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's well, I mean, it's hard because, like, I think the problem with religion, and especially being neurodivergent, is that, I mean, with what I'm working with, to me, logic is the it's bad because I try to talking to my doctor about it today. I have an issue with, it's almost like future telling. If this, then this. If I do this, then this. Then this. If I do this, then this, then this. And I feel like if I can structure the world and everybody listens to my rules, then it would all make sense. But
Right.
of course, that's not how it
Keep going.
works, But then
No, it's
also
not.
you add the element of something that's unfalsifiable, something that doesn't make any sense to me, and my mind is scrambling trying to do that, and everybody's telling me what they're saying makes sense, and what I'm saying doesn't make sense. It's just a mess at that point. I mean, you've told me you've had some experience with religious trauma and these issues. What? I mean, if you could discuss some of yours, Helen, I would appreciate it. That'd be great.
Most of my religious trauma, I didn't go through like a angry atheist stage. I didn't go through I'm waving to the chat. So
No, it's okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
Hi, chat. So I didn't go through like a religious trauma stage, but I kind of just let go of religion pretty easily. But a lot of it I didn't realize was sexual trauma and related and to misogyny. Those are very specific to me as and also as a queer person, because I'm going to burn in hell everybody.
Oh, of course.
So
of course.
totally. Because I'm polysexual, but all right, whatever. At the and it's very confusing because when you are a woman and you're also queer and you're like, I was brought up Catholic, and we were kind of liberal Catholics, but still that messaging is still there. It doesn't go away. And my parents were victims of the 50s, so that Protestant influence was definitely there, even though they were Catholic. And there's just this kind of sort of dark underbelly where you're getting messaging like, if you have sex before marriage, you're dirty. If you have any sort of like want to have some kind of control over your body, things that you don't like, growing breasts and pubic hair and feeling kind of shame for those things, people not sticking up for you if you're being sexually harassed. It as things go on, those things happen. And over time, like, I didn't really realize until I got older how much that messaging had affected me. And I had allowed people to use the fact that I was a woman and my sexuality against me. And I didn't really have a good relationship with that until I got much older. And then I kind of, once I realized, and therapy was a very big help. And also on top of that, I had SA trauma. So I had the religious trauma and that of like messaging and misogyny and stuff like that, and the SA trauma on top of that. So it's a great, wonderful, twisted mess.
Dude, see, to talk about the SA stuff, I mean, that's when I was, okay, so I grew up really evangelical, and like, I really didn't care too much about it until I was about 12, 13. And like, I started having where the trauma started happening with me was I started having night terrors, probably about 12, 13. And my mom was extremely like hyper religious and evangelical and it's obsessed with demons and Satan. And the church we went to started picking up. You see, I'm 43 now. So this was like 93, 94. So it was like Bob Larson, shit like that, you know, and casting out demons on live air. Let me get a sip of water. And so I started having these night terrors and I start getting like convinced that I'm like possessed with demons. You know, I mean, this is the 90s. I don't know shit, you know? And, you know, so, and all my information is already like, I look back now and my life was already following the BITE model. You know, there was behavior control, information control, you know, thought control and emotional control. And those things were already happening in my house and starting to happen at that church that I was going to. So I kind of got caught up with the purity culture from about, I don't know, about 14 until about 19-ish. Now, we had a youth pastor, a guy named Rodney, which I have no problem saying his name out. I mean, this guy's fuck this guy, piece of shit. And he was really into you know, massaging 14-year-old boys and being alone with young boys and expressing how what was it? Men in this society don't, you know, we don't touch each other enough. So, you know, we really need to touch each other more and, you know, do those types of things.
Oh,
so,
that's gross.
Oh no, he's a fucking piece of shit. You know, fast forward, you know, years later, he's convicted for, you know, doing SA on a prepubescent boy. So,
okay. So yes, he's a piece of shit.
Oh no, he's a piece of shit. Yeah. He's fucking disgusting. So so I didn't realize what was happening. I knew it and it was made me really uncomfortable after a while, but I was so yearning for like an older male relationship and being a queer kid. I was obviously a walking fucking target. Right. So let me see. I stayed a virgin. I mean, until the, you know, about 1920-ish, right around there. And I remember
1920.
Yeah, dude, crazy.
Like 1920, like in the year.
1920. Yeah.
And I was like
right
like
around
the
that. I might even been 20. Yeah, it's 1920. Yeah, I'm real old. I'm a vampire. And so I started. I had stopped doing the religion thing, and I started like. I mean, I was always going to like punk rock and hardcore shows and stuff. So I started primarily kind of hanging out with those guys. And these guys were 10, 15 years older than me, maybe even more. And I remember we went to a party and we had picked up a band from the airport. I was still too young to drink, but we were driving around drinking out of a bottle of liquor in a minivan. It was ridiculous. And we're hanging out. And these guys are like easy 10, 15 years, 20 years old. I mean, these guys are old. These guys are in their 40s. I'm like barely 20. And we're hanging out. I'm getting way too drunk. I barely remember getting to my buddy's house. And I remember I threw up all over myself and took off all my clothes and grabbed the blanket and just like laid in the middle of the floor. There's 15 people there. And there was this one lady who's hanging out with us, a lot older than me. And I come to, and there's a whole group of people around me and goading her on, and I'm telling her to stop and blah, blah, blah. So after being like so religious for so long and then never doing that and then having that be my first experience, that really fucked me up. And then me being a guy and then the whole social thing, like guys can't get raped, I mean, it really fucks you up. Right. And then being a queer.
Right.
So for about 2 years, I went on like a mental health, maybe about 3 years, mental health rampage. Like it fucked me up so bad and made a lot of bad decisions, found myself in a lot of bad spots. And I attribute it back to that. Well, I attribute it back to two things. One, that was a big thing. But two, growing up religious didn't prepare me for the world, right? You have this whole trope of being in the world, but not of the world. You're not even in the fucking world. You're walking around with everybody. You're not even there. That's what people don't realize is that whenever I found myself involved with this like Christian cult in downtown Houston. It's all these things I found myself involved with. And I mean, luckily, like every time I saw it, because I was always investigating, because it's like I always had a belief-ish type thing going on, but I was more investigatory, right? I was trying to figure it out. So I'd go somewhere, these people would be pieces of shit. The whole thing was weird. It didn't make sense to me from what I was reading in the Bible. Fuck this. Go somewhere else. People end up being weird creepos. I can't be around, this place is wrong. I can't be around here, and just after a while, like that faith, and not even faith, I don't even know if I had faith, but that belief still lingered, but like I just wasn't feeling it. But because I'd been involved with it through my formative developmental adolescent years, my brain was all fucking mashed potatoes. So I didn't really know how to like, I knew how to like be in tattoo shops and go to church. It was like, I knew tattoo shops, punk rock, metal, and church. And none of those things are
That is such a weird,
it was weird
and diagram of experience.
It was weird because like I loved punk rock and metal and hardcore, and I loved going to shows, but like I was also religious. So like a lot of my buddies, it's funny if they watch this, and when they watch it, they'll remember, like, because these guys are a lot older than me, they'll remember like when Jason was a Christian. Like, but I was still there. I was still at the shows. I was still having a good time. But like I just told people that Jesus loved them, and they'd ask me about God and like going to hell, and I'm like, look, I think it's fucking terrible too, but like if it's the truth, then we need to know it. Like I always saw God as a tyrant and as scary. I never felt like the love of God. That was never a thing. Like I was just terrified all the time. So yeah, I just, religion didn't equip me with, I mean, of course, dealing with SA, you're not so much equipped with it for that, but at the same time, you can be more mentally prepared for traumatic situations if you recognize trauma for what it is and you learn all these things. I mean, I'm coming off the tail end of like terrible mental health related to me thinking I'm possessed, to like,
right.
Yeah. I had no way to like fucking navigate the world. Like nothing was happening. It wasn't going to happen. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'd say it probably took, 5 years, 7 years after getting out of that kind of cult Christian lifestyle to really start like barely getting my shit together. And it was hard. It really was. I mean, I started doing MMA right around 2006, and I was 25, 26, and it took me about a year of doing that to get healthy again, because I was so bad on drugs and just so fucking wrecked mentally that right around 25 is whenever I quit all that shit and picked up MMA, and that changed my fucking life. And I mean, I credit every good thing in my life to that. So it really helped me overcome, like, my night terrors stopped. Right. So really,
thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible, but it's terrible because it primes you. I mean, shit, we could go into it. We can go into the neuro stuff about it here whenever you want to, but it really primes you. What we've seen, God, I wish I had the fucking studies, because I read them. They were great. They were recently put out by Rice here in Houston. Within the past, we're talking 2 to 3 years, maybe 2 years. I think it was 2023. Where they, and God, I hope somebody can find it. I wish I'd saved them, but they were investigating the effects of religious indoctrination on the neural pathways related to critical reasoning, logic, pragmatism, dialectics, more or less post-formal type thinking. So, and what they found is that indoctrination, like fundamentalism, indoctrination is mainly that through the developmental years when your brain is developing.
I'm seeing this is hearing me looking it up.
Yeah, it legitimately changes, and like you find a section of people who haven't been indoctrinated. Like they could even have grown up religious, but they weren't having there wasn't like bite model fucking life control shit going on. It's like cultural religious person. Their brain lights up in a very similar way. The people who are indoctrinated, it's like the answer went, instead of going run through 10 concurrently to illustrate it, it was more like 1 banana, potato, -3, I'm hungry, cheese, 10, so, and then 10 may not even be the actual, so you had a lot of issues with critical reasoning that were structural. So, and then the problem is that those are the most plastic years, where plastic meaning your brain is moldable, blah, blah, blah. But after those years, your brain loses a lot of plasticity. I can't say that. And you have to really do things like mindfulness, like we're talking fucking damn near chronic mindfulness meditation. We're talking over and over and over, time and time again. You can't do it. You have to do it for a long time. Short meditation is really kind of useless, honestly. But you do that, or you're psychedelics, right? I'm not promoting them, but psychedelics, or some form of CBT, cognitive processing therapy, to where you're actively reforging fucking pathways and connecting A to B to C to D. But you kind of have to do all those things together. You kind of have to do mindfulness, kind of have to do some form of psychotropic something, and you have to do some form of behavioral therapy to really forge those new pathways, because you're going to rest in like just pattern-based shit that's reinforced by your cultural and your own personal biases. So it's so hard to break out of those patterns, because they are legitimately forged in your fucking meat noggin,
So you're processing meat
juice. So it's in there. But the thing is, what in reading that, what I think is really beautiful about that is, I mean, if you look at it, I think in the right way, it has to breed some sort of empathy for people, because you can see it's the same thing as a bad hip, right? Let's say you had surgery, but you still got a pinched hip, or you've got nerve damage. The hip still works, but it's fucking cumbersome, and it's always going to be an issue. You can eventually get it moving once you warm it up, but like me, who is still training to fight at 43, it takes me about a whole class to warm up before I can do a class. So that's a difficulty I got to deal with. That doesn't mean I'm any less of a fighter, but that the effort takes a lot more to reach the goal due to what's happened to me over the past 20 years to my body. So I think that's probably the best way to illustrate what religious indoctrination will do to you. So couple that with, let's say you were indoctrinated, but you fucking loved being a misogynistic, fucking conservative, brutal pig human. Cool. Then, I mean, you're not going to get traumatized from it. You're the traumatizer. You're loving it. You feel great. Your community tells you how fucking awesome you are, because you're just the fucking child of God. You're the man of God, right? But, get a person who, like myself, might find that guy pretty fucking hot, except if it weren't for his shitty personality, there's going to be an issue there, because people can sniff that shit out. It's like the old trope of like, we talked about SA, and I hate to bring it up, but it's such a pertinent thing in our reality. You hear about, priests assault like a kid, right? And then 15 years later, 20 years later, that kid's a grown up who has a partner of the same gender or same sex, however you want to look at it. And they're like, well, because he was assaulted, that's why he's queer. Well, that's not the case. He was assaulted because he's queer, right? So the predators like that, they put themselves in those positions of authority to where they know they can sniff out people. You get motherfuckers who know this. They know for a fact, like we talk about it, with the ACA all the time, and other networks talk about it, to where like it's like the automatic good guy card, right? Like it's like here in Texas, your license to carry your firearm we call that the automatic good guy card. Because you can show it to a cop and they're going to leave you the fuck alone because they know you don't have felonies. It's whatever, and they pretend like you're part of their team, which you're not, but whatever. So I think Christianity is a wonderful automatic good guy card for people who want to commit atrocities. That dude, that motherfucker that I mentioned, that guy Rodney Graham, we're talking quintessential white guy, Christian, blah blah blah, straight guy, whatever. Dude fucking got probation. Motherfucker got probation. He assaulted a prepubescent boy. And what we know about recidivism, when it comes to people who do those acts, when it's prepubescent and they've already done it, the recidivism rate, meaning they're going to fucking do it again rate, is astronomical.
Well, they got away with it. So
he got away with it.
That's the reinforcer too, that the system is telling me I can do this again. like, because there's no consequence, you know,
so
like
it's
you
on a
get
registry.
probation. So
Yeah.
Because guess what? Human beings, if we're given a little bit of leeway, we'll take the leeway. This goes for like underage drinking. It goes for, you know, drug abuse. It goes for lying. It goes for anything. We're given like a little bit of leeway. And even those of us that are not morally, you know, corrupt, we will bend the rules. We will find legitimate. We will do the mental gymnastics to justify any action that we do. So if you're take a piece of shit, give him probation, and guess what? He's still going to be a piece of shit, and he's going to reoffend.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. And you know, and it's funny you bring that up because I'm always fucking bitching about so look, I really want to get this criminal psychology degree real bad. It just I don't know why. I make good money with what I do, but I really don't want to fucking support, you know, the industry that I'm in for much longer. Luckily, I do safety and quality, so what I'm doing, I'm trying to help while the world's getting fucking gutted. But you know,
I know we're all I love what I do for my work. I love working with old people in the work that I do, like I really do. And I love the industry that I work in because it's healthcare, and I love helping out all my old clients because I feel like I'm actually trying to do some good in the world.
No, dude, I feel you. That's why I want to do this shit with the criminal psychology stuff, because like the purpose of this degree program is to investigate the current structures and investigate the current procedures and investigate them for racism, for sexism, for bigotry, to see all the imbalances. The assumption that the term criminal itself, I think, is criminal, right? You know, I mean, it's because there's a loaded thing. I mean, a criminal. This is one of the arguments. Like I'm reading a book right now called Mass Incarceration, and really interesting read, short read, but super dense, and it really fucking piss you off.
I'm sure it will, because I hate the prison system.
What's really disgusting to me is this. So if we look at California, right, and I'm sure it's very close to the same in Texas, but you look at California, when you look at general population, a quarter of general population are considered like their what's the term? They are not extreme. Their mental health is to the point. I can't remember the bold word term, but their mental health is to the point that they are dysfunctional and afunctional. And if they were to be in society, they would need assistance. These people are in general population with the same people we're talking, people who are just like you said, just assholes, right? Or somebody who isn't, or just somebody
that maybe, or people that are there for nonviolent offenses,
for
like
nothing,
you know, like drug runs,
for literally selling drugs,
for bullshit.
Yeah. So then the term criminal, you have this motherfucker like that guy who, you know, was my youth pastor. You know, let's say he happened to be a person of color. Well, you know, he's going to be in that prison now, right? Because low hanging fucking fruit, right? So you get a person of color in there, you know, you get tons of people, you know, people of color in there because they're poor, right? And because it's easy to target, and systems like the Compass AI system is fucking disgusting. So you look at those folks. Sorry, I'm reading chat. I got distracted. You look at those folks in there.
This is relevant. Like, because how people get into the system is because they're either have experienced trauma or are currently experiencing trauma.
Of course, and then
like nobody's, because if you're doing well and you're healthy mentally and physically, you're not going to go out and commit crimes.
Well, also for the lack of understanding of people's mental health, you're going to see somebody do a quote violent act. But why did they do that violent act? They weren't violent before. They have no history of violence, right? So they're put into a pressure that draws out a violent act. So then they're lumped in with another person who was actually terrorizing a community or assaulting women or assaulting queer people, right? So the guy who's responding out of terror and poor mental health is now the same criminal as a person who is, let's say, committing fucking hate crimes, right? And then the motherfucker who was selling weed to pay his fucking bills is going to be lumped in the same fucking group as the dude doing fucking hate crimes and the fucking dude who got caught up fucking hurting children. So then that term criminal follows somebody for the rest of their life. So then after a while, it's just a criminal. Being poor is a criminal action. Being a person of color is criminal. Having mental health is criminal, right? So
I worked for a hiring agency a few years ago, and I was basically hiring people that worked on the back of garbage trucks, and they were day workers. after 3 days, if you came, and this job paid $11 an hour in like 95-degree weather in Florida, 10 hours a day.
Brutal. Fucking brutal.
Okay, it's fucking brutal. Okay, if after 3 days, if your criminal record came back, I would have to let you go. And it's and then they wonder why people can't integrate back into society. You can't even pick up fucking trash for $11 an hour.
Dude, it's so fucked up. Look, if any,
like think about this, everybody. This is really fucked up.
No, it's
and then they would go back. Like I was talking to one guy, he's like, I'm probably gonna have to go back to selling drugs because I have a son to support. And I and they tried to do it the legal way, and you can't even get a drug hauling trash. And who can survive on hauling trash for $11 an hour?
That's fucked up because you have places to where that's a union job. Yeah, I mean, that's such a dangerous job. You're dealing with hazardous waste all day. I mean, it's fucking disgusting. I will tell you, and I hate promoting the industry that I'm in, but if you want to go into welding and fabrication, I know dudes right now. I'm thinking of one of my good buddies right now. He had a felony. He did some shit when he was a kid, right? Got in some fist fights, did some fucked up shit when he was a kid, whatever. He's out now. He's in our industry. This guy's making $160 a year, got custody of his kid. He's a single dad, fucking great guy. And it's one of the last industries, especially fabrication, welding, and everything kind of going along with it, to where the quote American dream still exists. You know, I've got beautiful. I got tattoos all over me. And the guys I work with, I wear my little rainbow wristband, and you know, I wear my band shirts and shit. And the guys I work with are predominantly conservative Christian guys, and they've got to say yes, sir to me. Right. And I think it's great because that's kind of what I'm trying to do with the criminal justice shit. I invaded their space and they can't deny it. Now, the thing is, I had to work twice as hard. They treated me twice as shitty. You know, you look at a guy like me, you know, Jewish last name, white guy with tattoos who's not Christian. It's like you sacrifice your whiteness. So a lot of guys in this culture and in this industry view that with a lot of spite. They look down on you. But when I have more college, more degrees, a better work ethic, more morals, you know, care more about the job site, care more about safety, that shines through. So, but sadly, I mean, it's the amount of hours I work straight time. I'll pull 70 hours a week and I don't get overtime. Right. So there's a fucking payoff. I do all right for myself. But if I actually got overtime, I'd make the amount of money I make would be fucking insane. So that's still fun. And then Texas is a right to work state, which means, you know, the working class can get fucked over. And we're a minority majority state.
I mean, we both live in Satan's asshole because
it's
so it's a competition. This is the worst dick wagging contest of which state is the worst. And Oklahoma's in there too.
No, I agree. But then the problem is that the people who lose their jobs are the working class, and in a majority state, the majority of those people are people of color and or working class or poor. So, and so then, like you said, this motherfucker, he's like, I can't work. I'm doing my best. I'm getting fucked for something I did 15 years ago. A totally different person, you know? So I got to fucking sell drugs because I was a contractor. So they're not going to fucking pay my unemployment. And what am I going to do? Because I got to pay bills and my kid's hungry. So they fuck you. And it's in a primarily
and then we wonder why the criminal justice system is broken, and people are like, "Why do they reoffend?" And it's like they reoffend because there's no
other fucking
way
option
to integrate them back in society, because we have for-profit prisons and we have a system that incentivizes people to remain criminals, and get stuck into a system that will not give them a way out.
Oh, I agree. And the only difference, outside of those, the fucking heinous, malevolent behaviors. The only difference between me or you or somebody else is like there's somebody who got caught, right? So that doesn't make them.
I have definitely done things that are not on the up and up that I have not been.
I may have hypothetically done.
Allegedly, I've done these things.
People have claimed that I have allegedly.
I do not promote doing something that might get you into trouble. No. I'm just saying that allegedly I might have done some things that I'm not proud of.
But think about it. Think about your fucking brain at 18, 19, 20, fucking 25. Shit scrambled eggs compared to 45.
Well, and think also too, bring this back to the religious trauma conversation, is that I remember that once you start getting out of these sort of, when you're when you were letting go of religion, that was your moral structure. Then you have to develop a whole new moral system. And also you're going to kind of make up for lost time. And that can lead you into doing things and also be influenced by others if you haven't learned to not only deconstruct, but not to listen to authority and how to make decisions for yourself. Because you can let go of religion, but you can still be susceptible to authority. You can still be subjected to bad ideas for people that may not have your best interests at heart. And that's another problem that can lead into people, getting into things that may not be healthy for them because they don't have the skills to critically think, not only about their beliefs, but also to think about society in general and how you're being influenced.
Dude, I fully agree with you. I really fucking agree with you. Like, I didn't know how to vet people. I didn't know how to like really.
Me either.
And then, dude, what happens? You just get like traumatizes, right? So you keep finding yourself in these traumatizing. So I went from a culty church to a fucking street gang. And then from a street gang, I got allegedly involved with organized crime.
Allegedly.
And it's just group after group. But I felt like these people were my group. But then like the church turned on me. Then this other church turned on me. Then these people turned on me. Then the people who I was like in this fucking crew with turned on me. And it's just like, but it wasn't me. They turned on other people. And then this guy, it's, you're not fucking special. It was my turn, because of whatever. So it really, it's what had happened now is that, so Helen, the people we're all buddies with, we all talk to each other all the time, very close friends.
Yes.
Still
we're all in this very close, weird, queer atheist,
it's great
activist circle.
But
and it's wonderful because I have the most wonderful people in my life, and I say that all the time.
Dude, I agree. And I say that, I mean, literally, the best people. I've met the fucking best people through this activism. I mean, some of the best people. And it's funny because I was talking to John Rudebush, and I was telling him when we did the back cruise, I was having the best time. But dude, I had to pull kind of a, I'm not going to call the term, but I had to kind of bail without saying goodbye. And because just being around a group of people, just the group aspect and the fact that people are agreeing with each other and doing a thing together fucking terrifies me. I am so fucking terrified of it. And I'm still like, I get terrified to like interact with like our little group messages and stuff. And I'm really tentative because of that.
I just have ADHD and I don't have the capacity to hold on to things. So like I'm like, oh, it's group chat.
No, I get that. Definitely with how me being autistic presents, there's definitely that like kind of overwhelm thing. The definitely it's so hard for me to like fit in or feel like I'm fitting into a thing. I've expressed that a couple times that like I don't feel like I'm queer enough to be queer. I don't feel like I'm fucking atheist or leftist enough, liberal enough to be liberal or atheist. I always, the imposter syndrome thing is hard, so that's already hard.
Too, because like in our circle, because we're always trying to be better. We're always we want more education. We want to be shown that we're wrong. We want to know where our blind spots are.
Yeah.
That there are sometimes in these circles where you're kind of have imposter syndrome. Like, do I belong in the space? Like I'm going through gender shit right now. Yeah. Working on that. That's fun.
That sounds like great shit.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And I also at the same time because I'm cis presenting, I can't like, do I have the right to be questioning these things? Like, even though I like, it's just something I'm questioning and working through. I almost feel like, do I have the right to do this? I know that sounds kind of fucked up because it's just a process I'm going through because I'm deconstructing. It's one of those things that's still in the back of your brain because you have privilege. And when you have privilege, you wonder, like, is this did I earn this? Is it something that was just put upon me?
Yeah.
And that's another thing, because religion has a lot of fucking privilege.
Oh no, it really does. It fucking does.
And then when you're over here going like, well, I've learned that privilege is toxic and bad, and I don't want to. And you kind of have to deal with that moral ambiguity of like, how do we deal not only with our religious trauma, but also what are the roles you've been told, and how it leads, like, because religion and politics are fucking each other, and whether it's social politics or whatever, that you have it all gets tangled up together, and it's one of those things that you constantly have to work through.
Dude, I agree with you, because the thing that really stood out to me that you were talking about was kind of the doubt and shame aspect of it. Because that was huge for me. You and I talked about that, and still talk about it. It's for me, coming out as a not straight guy or whatever was really fucking hard. It was really fucking hard for me.
But it's hard because of misogyny and toxic masculinity. It's all tangled up in this really fucked up thing together. It's so much fun.
But also, like, it's what you were talking about. Like, you're still kind of behaving as though God's watching you. You're still kind of like working underneath those, like, you're not a Christian, but you're still behaving like a Christian. Like, why would we feel like a fucking imposter without people without people constantly reinforcing how not good enough you are, right? In our culture, we're in a Christian, so it was super hard for me to even admit it to myself, because I had attributed so much like weakness and so much like passive, and I can't be weak because I was fucking attacked, so I have to be a monster and nobody can fuck with me, so I have to train and I have to fight and I have to look scary and be scary and fucking all these things. And to me, being a queer dude and all the implications, A, add to more of the fear, honestly, and B, made me confront the fact that I still had some implicit queer phobias or implicit poor beliefs or undue trauma related to that. Because as far as I'm convinced, unless you are on the extreme end of either straight or gay, I am convinced, and I've heard other people talk about this. Emily my partner talks about this. They're pretty fucking smart, right? They deal with these topics professionally.
Yes, Emily's very smart.
Yeah.
And also a very cool person.
Super cool. So I am convinced, if we're looking at bell curve, 85% of people are some fucking flavor of bi plus. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I use the term bi because I look at like sex organs, right? There's the gradient between a penis and a vagina on humans. So bisexual, me being how my mind works, bisexual, two sexes, the gradient. You have the intersex gradient, then you have, so for me, it just encompasses all humans. Whatever genitals you have, I'm into you if I like you as a human being, right? So I think every human being, for the most part, the majority, are some flavor, or I'm going to treat them as though they are some flavor of that until I learn otherwise. Because the more I understand about sexual preference and then the correlations with gender and very little amounts of biological sex, it's I see more and more people are attracted to gradients of presentation related to their expectations in their society, and then every once in a while may have a genital preference. But look, if I'm checking out some dude,
I think the reason why I say I'm polysexual is because I like the flag colors better, because I don't like the pan.
No, that's color. What I'm saying. Exactly.
Like it's a preference. I'm like, I don't like the pan color flag, so I'll say I'm polysexual.
Yeah, and bi work for me. Bi works for my mind. It is like this. Yeah. I put things in lists. Jason make lists. Lists make Jason happy. List is good. Yeah.
I I have the sexuality. I've told you this before that my brain goes, I would like to tap that. That is my sexuality. Is I would like to tap that. Like I don't know what that is, but Helen goes, that is hot. I would like to have a good time with that.
Oh,
I wonder what they look like naked.
Yeah, I always joke that my sexual preference is called Freddie Mercury. You know, I want it all.
Right.
So I mean, it's
like
just,
whatever Freddie Mercury is, that's what we're going with.
You know, I mean, like deep down inside, Freddie Mercury is my fucking spirit animal. So like, I just love that. Dude makes me cry when I listen to
Mine's David Bowie. David Bowie's my spirit animal.
Oh my god, Bowie's awesome, but like Mercury just has like that gay man, even though he's not. He was, you know, he's a bisexual guy,
but also like
he's got that thing.
He probably preferred men, but he was probably boying some girls too. He was just like, whatever, I'm down for a good time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like for me, Bowie is a really good icon for gender fluid or gender non-conforming trans individuals, people who are non-conforming. But for like a dude, like Mercury was a dude, you know what I'm saying? And like
he's a dude.
He was a dude. And like a bro. Like Mercury was a bro. And for like me, I'm very much a dude. I've never had gender issues. You know, I know I'm a dude.
Like you're
I couldn't pretend
Todd, he's never had gender issues. He's perfectly like,
no, Todd's a dude. Todd's a dude.
Todd's totally a dude.
Todd's a bro. You know, Rudabush, that's a bro right there. You know, like, dude, you can see, dude, my body loves testosterone. You know, I'm older now, so I'm on TRT, which is funny because they're not protesting me getting testosterone replacement, but, you know, whatever. But
oh, no, because
I digress.
I was talking about this with one of my friends about like how, you know, I'm older now and I'm going through perimenopause and have to go through menopause. I was talking this on the ACA TikTok last night.
Oh, cool.
And I was saying like it's gender affirming queer if I get hormone replacement therapy, but if you're trans, it's not. I don't understand why that's an issue. Like that's gender affirming care.
Look, if I buy a 1972, look, here's how I see it. If I buy a 1972 F100, that's my fucking truck. I can make that fucking truck look, run, smell however the fuck I want. It's my truck. I don't and then but the thing is, if it runs and it's street legal and all that shit, they've got to give me a registration. They've got to give me fucking insurance on it, and I've got to be able to drive on the fucking roads. It's my fucking truck. As long as I'm fucking like, you know, doing something that's safe, healthy, is not going to put anybody at risk, I do whatever the fuck I want to my truck, and nothing anybody can fucking tell me. Right. And there may be some other things I may do that I don't fucking tell anybody, and they can still fuck themselves too. You know, so I mean, I don't know. For me, it'd be silly for somebody who has tattoos on their fucking face to like feel any sort of way about trans folk other than the fact that they're like normal, boring humans just like me. Right.
I'm always like, have you met the queer community? Like, I can tell you, we are not as interested as you think we are.
No, you know, like, and you know what I really like?
So boring.
I really like having like fucking.
But I love our boring asses because we're just like, I just want to like, you know, have a normal stupid life, like everybody else has a normal stupid life. Like nobody, like, and I just want human rights, and I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah, dude, but there's literally no reason for us to be warring for this shit if it weren't for religiously informed fucking and not religion as a whole, because think about like our fucking pagan friends, you know, the term pagan.
No, I'm talking about like, you know, like fundamental Christianity.
Yeah, dude.
Or fundamental Judaism or fundamental like Islam. There's also issues within the pagan community of they're rare. But there's people in the pagan community because they do see nature as very binary, because most procreation is done between like, you know, penis, vagina, sex, you know, and natural nature. Fine. Like there is that prejudice in the pagan community, though it's rare, but I have seen it when I was, you know, part of that community. Yeah. You're totally boring, Cindy. Like we know, like, you know, people in like, you know, white supremacist groups that use like pagan symbols to legitimize their shit. So like people are on a spectrum.
Well, look, and
there's assholes everywhere. You cannot escape them.
Well, it highlights a couple things. Those spaces are predominantly men, and they tend to overvalue and underperform. So whatever. And you know, generally. So, but then B, all it does is expose their ignorance, because you see in fucking hundreds of social species, I think it's not hundreds, but I think it's like 130 some odd social species, you see some form of queerness. And then you see the necessity for it. You see them as, you see queer partners or queer animals, or as a necessary part of the community. They become surrogate caretakers. They become surrogate protectors. They become surrogate whatever. So there's a necessity for queerness, which again,
so
as far as I'm convinced, everybody's queer.
1,500 animal species that show same-sex attraction.
Oh, dude.
So
that's pretty cool.
1,500 animal species.
Yeah, I was thinking about the social ones, but and then we have transgender fish. We have I mean, it's amazing, So I mean,
there's like deer that are growing, like female deer that are growing antlers. So they're so so bigger because like the females tend to get killed more in hunting because they're not as fast. So they start growing, like there's an evolution of them starting to grow antlers, so they appear larger and bigger to and a more of a threat to other animals, because also as well, like when your population goes down, adaptation becomes a thing. So that's really interesting. Like there's all these interesting stories about like evolution happening right before people's eyes. It's totally totally crazy.
Oh yeah, no, that's a whole different rabbit hole that I could go down and would probably nerd out and bore the fuck out of everybody.
I'm sure Forrest has way more information on this than I do. So,
oh yeah, no, I mean, I haven't studied animal science in fucking over a decade at this
point. I
haven't
studied evolutionary biology since high school, other than nature programs. So I'm just saying.
That's pretty funny.
But like this is the whole thing. Okay, so we've talked a lot about, I think we were going to talk about the bite model at some point. So let's transition to the bite model.
Okay, so the bite model.
Welcome to Neurodivergent Stream, everybody, where topics move around a lot. Anyway,
well, I mean,
I do want to talk about the bite model because I think that I know this is for people that haven't heard of it, and those are people that I know all you smart motherfuckers have heard about the bite model. But I'm hoping this will go out to somebody that hasn't heard about it. Mm-hmm. So, what's the bite model, Jason?
The bite model is how you know you're in a fucking cult, right? So, and a cult can look a million different ways, right? So BITE, 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 Billy, no. So B, behavioral control. It's all about control. So you have behavioral control. You have control of information. You have control of thought. You have control of emotions. So what you're doing, you're more or less, people are telling you what to do, what to take in, how to think about it, and then how to feel about it, which is, you would think, oh, I would know if somebody was doing that, but your fucking TV, and the internet and your algorithms steer you every day without you even fucking knowing it. So if you think that you could be aware of that, think about if you even care about what political party you're part of. Right there, it's that right there shines a light on something. So especially with like kind of what I grew up in. Sorry, I'm going to clear my throat.
It's fine, you're allowed.
Especially with what I grew up in, and a lot of people grew up in. You get a lot of those like home church models, to where you have 40, 50, maybe people, 20, 30 people home church. You go into strip center churches, 30, 40, 50 people, where you have a lot of these little independent churches. And I'm not saying they're all cults, but what happens in a lot of those situations, you have a small amount of people, and you have a leader, and they become very invested into each other, right? They become very invested into each other's business. It's like in my case, it's you had to do a thing called accountability, and you more or less tell everybody about everything. You have accountability partners. You tell them about every time you jerk off. You tell them about every time you wanted to be mad about
accountability buddy.
Accountability buddy, yeah, exactly. So, but all that is it's got like it's got like a Hitler Youth vibe to it. You're just more or less telling people about the things, and you're trying to trust them with it, and they just go fucking rat your ass out. So that's ultimately what that is everybody's in your fucking business all the time, to the point that and you brought this up earlier, and I wanted to hit on this, that your own, like, and this is also an aspect of narcissistic abuse, is that your thoughts become their thoughts in a sense, to where like you're thinking with their voice. What becomes even
Right.
scarier, where you see in a lot of religious stuff, is this happened to me. You start to attribute your internal monologue or dialogue that you have, where you're kind of bouncing things off of things. I don't know. What about this? What about this? You know, you start to actually attribute it to other entities, to demons, to God, to the Holy Spirit, you know? So after a while, you don't even know what the fuck is your thought. You don't even know if you have thoughts. You just know that there's this thing that you're doing and you're repeating it. And a lot of times it leads to what one of my favorite topics is identity foreclosure, because it uses cognitive dissonance to help you double down, and then you instantiate the whole group think aspect of it. I mean, fuck me. It's give it a month. If you put yourself, give it a month, give it 30 days, and you'll be thinking like other motherfuckers. It's crazy how quick it happens, and they get you while you're down. So anything that you cling to, any group, I mean, politics, I look at people get so, look, it would have been much more preferable if Kamala had won, right?
Right.
But the fact that people, oh, Kamala's so great. Kamala's this. I mean, motherfucker, we talked about the prison system in California earlier. I mean, come on, do your homework. I mean, she's a fucking Democrat. Yeah. She stands to benefit on fucking political shit, Trump shit. These people benefit. If they got the money, they're in positions of power, they'll benefit on a conservative, whatever. So not to make it political, but so for me, it's so weird because people start to like sacrifice their identity for a sense of safety or a sense of security. And that's what these motherfuckers play on. And then after a while, because through your behavior, you do successfully isolate yourself from other factors, because it breeds so much dissonance that you eventually surround yourself into an echo chamber. So it becomes like self-perpetuating. Traumatize people. You traumatize yourself, much like stigma does. You perpetuate stigma. You perpetuate your own trauma in this sense. And after a while, your identity's foreclosed, and you haven't even critically reasoned about deeply held beliefs that are directly attached to your identity. So I don't know. That's kind of the BITE model in a nutshell.
Yeah, and like it's really funny because like I can't remember her name right now, and it will come to me later. But she was like, you can be in a cult of one. Like anytime you're in like a domestic abuse situation or someone that has control over your behavior, your information, whatever it is, that can be. I was in an MLM. I didn't realize there were cults till like a few years ago. So that was a thing. But it was the early 2000s. And there was a lot of research on this shit. But
yeah, it happens.
It happens. You don't know about it until you're like, oh, this is actually like cults don't just happen in religion. It can be political cults, business cults, like any sort of abusive relationships where information and control are being put upon you and making you question reality, and you cannot make decisions for yourself. And you are everything is bestowed upon a leader. And and it's what's so scary. Like I'm doing Chris Shelton's podcast tomorrow night, and he was one of the higher ups in the Scientology movement. Please go like watch his channel, because he knows a lot about like how cults work and how you deconfer from them and all this shit. Like I really recommend his work. I've been following him for years. Like when I was going through my deconstruction, he just we're going to be talking about RFR and cult and like leaving religion and shit. But like when you it takes years to recover, and like I think that those of us that have left religion, it's an ongoing process. Like we are still constantly going, is this true? Dude. Because we've been gaslit and lied to for so long that we are constantly on this sort of hypervigilance, and that is a trauma response.
Oh, yes, it
It
is.
lessens over time. We don't do it as much, but we still do it because we're constantly trying to protect ourselves from being indoctrinated into bad ideas. And the bite model is a really good way to look at any sort of group that you're involved in. Like, even if it's like an atheistic, like, humanistic group, like, please go. And like a certain thing, like if I don't adhere to the group, am I going to face consequences?
Yeah.
One thing I really appreciate about like our, circles is that I can disagree with you and nobody's going to be like, we have a difference of opinion. That's perfectly fine. It's like,
oh, I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's appreciated too. It's hard because that trauma does go with you. So kind of like what we were talking about earlier, once you've on the road to recovery and all those things, it's still super hard to like know how to trust a group, to know how to like trust your own assessment of situations, because for so long your voice has not been your own voice. And then it's almost like a addiction relapse, right? So you're
Right.
good for a while, but then before you know it, somebody takes advantage of a blind spot and you're back in some sort of narcissistic, culty type relationship. What's that, folly of deux or whatever? Where it's like, yeah, the folly of two or whatever, folly
Yeah.
deux, or like it's that new Joker movie, right? I can't speak French. I'm a Jewish guy from Texas, so yeah. But it's
your American is showing.
Sorry, guys. I mean, but it's that thing to where you have that thing and that false. It's so strange, and then you're primed to continue those types of relationships. I mean, I did that for years. I did that with an ex of mine for years. They gained so much control over me, but it was because I wanted to do the right thing, and I'd been primed to think that like I'm no good unless I perform, right? And that was from a very young age, and I attribute that to religiosity because I had to perform, so, and then you have a parent who reinforces it, and then the nature of the religion in itself is a performative religion. That's, if you don't perform, you're fucked, right? Like, it's not like if you don't perform, yeah, you'll get it again, Tiger, good job for trying. No, it's like if you don't perform, you are fucking fucked. And even if you do perform, you're still most likely fucked, right? So, and that's terrifying, right? And whenever that's being demonstrated in your social and in your home life, like, that's how you start to filter the fucking world, right? So then you just reinvite more of that shit into your life. It's terrible, man. And like you said, it's a trauma response. And then kind of related to the thing you said about atheists, that's one thing that I have that I'm compassionate about, but and I have empathy for, but I think is difficult for people who are no longer believers, but have been traumatized because of their beliefs and because of their culture and yada, 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 is that it's really hard to recognize allies. It is really hard to recognize people who are like on your side, right? Because trauma breeds black and white thinking. So, and catastrophizing and future telling. And if you're like me, I am trying to tell the future all the time. I'm trying to analyze every list that I can fucking think of. Mix that with trauma. I mean, goddamn, right? So it's so hard to build functional, positive groups whenever every motherfucker in there is dealing with some sort of like trauma, and it's like unmanaged, right? And then you're reacting off of it. And then I think in a lot of cases it cuts off a lot of ability to really interact with people who do have some sort of religious belief system, because the warning signs go off that they're automatically a threat, which it's taken me years, probably fucking 20 years, to not think that just because you're religious, you're a threat, right? And that's still, I know that it's not the case, but I still kind of believe it, but I have to get over it, right? So it's
like I'm learning now, like, because like I'm trying to make spaces for people that, like, if you believe in God or not, that doesn't really affect me. But are your social politics progressive? Are you worried about human rights? I want to align with people that hold my values, whether a God exists or not, so we can debate about philosophy. I'm trying to allow space for people that hold a spiritual belief, but they care about queer people and they care about social justice. They care about that there's issues with systematic problems that we should fight against. And they use Jesus as an example that didn't really dig these systems. That's more of like, I want to allow space for that, because I don't want to cut up our noses to spite our faces. Like, I
agree.
think that for those of us that are trying to have social progress, because guess what? In American government, I want atheists, trans people, queer people, Muslim people, evangelicals, Catholics, like, I want a representation of every single motherfucker that lives in this country, because that's how we get to inclusion, because your ideas are not mine. Your identity is not mine. And then we're at the risk of becoming a monolith that we're now facing. We have to get to a point where everybody gets equal footing. And that means true equality, not that specialness equality, I think that that's more what I want to see in the world, even though, like, I do think religion is very toxic and bad. It is still not up to me. And if we're going to do representation, that means everybody gets represented, not just like the specialness of evangelicals or in like this type of group or whatever. And then we do lip service that was like, oh, there's a trans person that got into like one level of Congress. Cool. Great. We could have done this 30 years ago.
Oh, like, yeah, dude.
We've always existed. But trans people and queer people, we've always been here.
Well, I'm really looking forward to a world to where, and I don't believe in colorblindness. I think I understand why people would want to be colorblind, because they just want to be like, I just want everyone to be on equal footing. Right. But I look forward. How do I say this? I've heard like to where, like to me, a woman's a woman, right? Woman's a woman. I don't really need a delineation for myself. Man's a man, and then a non-binary, gender non-conforming person is a person, right? So,
yeah,
I understand the necessity for groups. We're talking for healthcare, for mental health, mental health care and physical health care. We're talking about for understanding marginalization. We're talking for understanding the problems with like equal access, equal opportunity type things, right? Not so much equal outcome. I mean, that's a whole different discussion, but equal access and opportunity, actual opportunity. There needs to be groups. You got to have it. But ultimately, like, I want to be to where I'm not even surprised, or I don't even give a fuck if a trans person is represent. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just
right. I don't want to. I'll be like, oh, like, well, or it's not even a thing where like this person has the qualifications to do this job, and we're just like, cool.
Yeah, yeah. Like, they're a person who's good at what they do, and we trust them, and they're not going to steal my car. I don't know. I don't really know what else.
Like it's sort of like this person is trans, but then like, does that automatically apply goodness? Because we know that that's not true.
Oh, dude.
Like,
yeah, no, I love,
but like that's why I don't like tokenism, because there's this sort of like attribution of good that is applied to tokenism, which is toxic to every single system that exists. Because it should be based on your abilities and morals and ethical framework. It's not based on how you identify, whether through gender, sexuality, or race, and race isn't a thing. But like, okay, but it has to be for these fucking conversations. Like, it shouldn't matter. Like,
no, I agree.
What's your education? How have you voted? What is your background? That's the stuff I care about.
Yeah, no, I fully agree, dude. I really do. It's like what we talked about earlier about when you're religious, you have the automatic, it's like a virtue signal type thing,
Mhm.
right? So I do. I really like when it's like years ago, if there's like a movie about gay stuff or queer stuff, you're like, oh, it's great that it came out. That's great. Yay, you're championing it because it's happening. And but now it's just like there's a ton of movies about queer shit. And I'm like, yeah, that movie sucks, right? And it's
Yeah.
okay to like not like that movie. Like I really enjoy not liking people, you know, and I don't want to feel like I'm pressured to have to like a person just because they're an atheist or just because they're a bi dude like me or just because they're a trans chick. Like fuck that person, fuck that dude, fuck that chick. You know, like if that person sucks, they fucking suck. But I want to live in
I'm
a
like, I
world.
just think you're an asshole. I don't
Exactly,
really
dude.
care how you identify.
Yeah,
I just think you're a butthead.
yeah. That's the
Like, I
world.
don't want to be around you.
Exactly. That's the world I want to be in. But there's going to take a lot of work to get into that world because you do have to treat a lot of people. You have to give a lot something. I don't know how do I put this? I really feel like it's important when there are big social shifts for people to take things to the extreme. Just so they can find a normalization homeostasis. I don't think it's even that they should. I think it's just bound to happen. We see this in every decade when we have a movement. They are pushed hard and in people's faces, just so that way motherfuckers can go back to like hating each other in peace. Right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
just kind of how I
like
want it.
that's how I liked it. Like
Yeah, dude, that's how I wanted
I didn't
it.
like you, and I could be like, I don't have to go on the internet and tell you that I don't like
Yeah,
you.
but then the problem of
But
privilege comes
everybody,
up.
but like our psychology is changing. There's studies
Mhm.
going like. I was listening to NPR because I'm better than you, and somebody was talking about like how we will not know the results of how our brains are changing due to social media till like far in the future.
Oh, of course.
But their studies are being done right now that right now we are not patient because we're so used to having things so instantly presented to us. I'm like, when things are like, think about how frustrated you get when things are buffering. Like, and you're just like, no, I like, and you can feel that anxiety start to build that the things are just simply buffering because we're so used to things being so instantaneous. And we're able to track, like, your DoorDash driver, like when they're going to arrive to your house, and it's the anticipation, it's the dopamine dump, right?
Yeah,
It's the
dopamine.
anticipation of the dopamine that we're looking for.
Yeah.
And this is changing our brain chemistry because everything is instantaneous. It's so instantaneous. I'm sure I'm saying that, pronouncing that wrong.
Instantaneous.
It's going to happen right now.
It's got to fucking happen right now.
It's got to happen right now that we're not used to the waits anymore, because before the age of instantaneous information and arrival of things, that is going to, and the fact that now we're living in a world where, information is available at your fingertips. This is changing our brain chemistry. And also, this is how people approach therapy.
Mm-hmm.
They think they go to like 1-2 therapy sessions.
Oh, yeah.
And all their trauma is going to go away. And I'm like, nope, because we now have to resell neural networks that have been indoctrinated, whether through abuse or, pattern seeking or whatever, that this thing has been ingrained in us over and over again, that you can't do 2 therapy sessions and think that instantaneously that you're going to suddenly be like, I no longer have trauma. That's not how it works.
It takes work. Like, what was it? Mental health isn't your fault, but it's your responsibility type of thing. Now, I don't know if I believe in the word responsibility. Quote. Yeah, but it really, it's really just kind of your job. It's kind of what you need to do. No, I agree, but it's a problem because what's hard about it though is like when
sorry.
You don't like yourself.
It's too funny ways to like, I'm sorry.
I know I got distracted for a second too. That's so funny. I think it's a real shame too, because there's definitely a cultural war on, I guess, mental health in the United States, because I mean, I would say one of the contributing factors is that if people were to actually, and Emily talks about this being in the field, is that it's saturated with like white Christian women. That's what Emily says, you know? And so if you're
that's interesting.
well, okay,
That's
so check this
really
out. So
like
check this
that's
out.
really I know I want to do a meta analysis on like white Christian women entering therapy. Like
Well,
I like that is so fascinating to me.
it's a thing. So think about this.
I want to talk to Emily about that. Emily has to come on my podcast and talk about white Christian women.
No, you got to get Emily on there. Think about this. Here's the best way to illustrate it, I think. You get a set of parents. You get two people, set of parents. They eat shitty food. You know what I'm saying? Just the worst food in the world. Do you think they're going to be buying their kids organic meals and quinoa burgers and, bottled RO water? No, they're not. And it's not because they don't care about their kids, because what it's going to do, it exposes your own issues, and you have to admit to yourself that what you're doing is harmful to yourself. So instead of doing something that's not harmful to your kids, you continue harming your own kids in order to alleviate your own dissonance. So I think you have a lot of, I guess,
like it's like those like granola moms, like their kids have some kind of neurodivergency and they think that they can fix their kids through diet.
It's so gross. It's really bad choices.
But it's one of those things because you're traumatized and you think that your kids are not independent beings unto themselves. They are extensions of you.
Yeah.
And instead of,
getting
like
the
whether
actual
you
help
should or you're trying to get them to eat like all organic, whatever, like it's the same thing. It is an extension of like, I want my kid to be this, so I'm going to do this to my child. It is not about like finding a balance and being like, well, like, okay, like, I'm sorry, we cannot afford to have quinoa burgers. I'm going to get frozen pizza. And that's what I'm going to feed my child. Because we have to eat. And or you're having a lazy night and you're just like, fuck, we're going to get McDonald's. I don't feel like cooking.
Yeah, but it's literally admitting what you're doing. It like, fuck it, I'm poor right now. I got to get some pizza. Everybody deal with it, But it's
right, like, and it's also a value judgment.
Yeah, well, everything in moderation, right? Like, whatever. Why not? But it's. I feel like it's just like what you said. Instead of dealing with things honestly the way that they should be empirically, their own lives are a mess. Like I know, I know therapists, I know people who are psychologists who are a fucking mess. Their whole lives are fucking in shambles, and they're a mess. They're not. So it's so hard for me to think that they're actually providing.
I couldn't do my activism as healthy as I did if I did not have my therapist.
You have to.
I'm like, you are my maintenance.
Yeah.
Like I told her that. I'm like, you're my maintenance. Like every 2 weeks, I just sit here and I vent for an hour, and you listen, and you give me some coping skills, and that's all I need.
Dude, you'll understand how much this is. Understanding therapy with certain things going on in life, and with certain mental health needs that I have, and with the autism diagnosis and stuff. Dude, I'm twice a week right now. So it's important.
Well, like I was once a week, and then we now reduced it twice because I'm, moving past certain things. But
of course,
but I was once a week for over a year, and now we just transitioned to twice a week, which has been really great because, I'm like, I just need maintenance right now. Will it change? Probably. Yeah. but like I want to live in the future where everybody has their therapist on speed dial and every therapist has their therapist on speed dial. Like I would love that world because like just like physical health where you're going to the gym every day, you need someone that is not a friend or family member.
Yeah.
Like like if I said to you, I'm like, dude, can I vent? And you would be like, sure, you can vent, but I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen to me bitch about something that's making me very mad.
Yeah, of course.
or a frustration I'm dealing with. I don't want you to fix it, but my therapist is there to listen to me and give me feedback and solutions about how I'm thinking and how I'm looking at something. They're not emotionally invested. Like they are to a certain extent, but I'm also giving them money. And this is what they're going to school for. Like I went to school for psychology. You've gone to school for psychology. We know. You know, and also too, like I'm so glad there's more work being done on religious trauma, because that's its own set of
it's a bunch of factors. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's because it's like, you know, once you started looking at religious trauma, then we're looking at sexual trauma, we're looking at social traumas, we're looking at, you know, how indoctrination changed your brain. Like it is a multi-tiered system. And also too, even if you were never in religion, religious influence still affects you, because you live in a society where religion just infects fucking everything.
Oh yeah, especially with where we're at. I mean, the states are fucking ridiculous. I mean, they're so far behind on so many things, and I cannot help but, I mean, you would be hard pressed to convince me otherwise that it is not caused by, I mean, I'm talking caused by ignorant, fundamentalist, evangelical, focus on the family, Reaganomics, fucking Christianity. And then the problem is that you get people who are people of color and immigrants, but have a more, I guess, in their version of a traditional fundamentalist value system, whether it's, you know, let's say Hispanic Catholics, people from other places who have, Islamic beliefs or more staunch Orthodox type beliefs in whatever version, they tend to align with the same garbage that's being spewed by the Christians who want to take their fucking rights away too. So you get, you know, single issue abortion voters, you get single issue this voters, you get single issue trans, anti-queer, anti-trans, when really they're ushering in fucking dog shit. So they're able to utilize that fucking authoritarian religious backbone that also mimics the authoritarian nature of our government now. And that's where we see religion causing suffering. Religion in itself that lacks authoritarianism and isn't utilized by like authoritarian structures is, if not benign, just a pain in the ass at best. Because without authoritarianism, you're not like really, I mean, you can be indoctrinated in a bunch of different ways, but I mean, so what if somebody's indoctrinated into like being a humanist and vegan or something? I mean, I could deal with worse things and being indoctrinated into like, you know, let's say they believe some shit, but they also accept science. I mean, oh no, right? A vegan is probably more moral than I am.
That's
right?
Catholic.
Yeah, I mean, well,
you can be a Catholic and also like believe in science, because they're two separate subjects.
Yeah,
you know, and like I'm more willing to be like a little bit forgiving that maybe if a God did exist, maybe they push, you know, natural processes and like physics and evolution and shit into existence. I'm more on that end than, you know, the Earth is 6,000 years old and like we just poofed into existence. You know, like at least I can go, the Catholic religion, terrible, criminal organization, horrible. But at least they know to keep those two things separate.
Yeah,
so
but then
if I'm gonna give like I have a point.
Yeah, but then they stick their finger up the ass of fucking women's rights, you know, and they
don't. I can't. I still can't. Like, and that's the thing. Because like I still can't be on birth control if I was still procreating. I would have to just pop out babies.
That's so fucking insane, dude. Yeah. So we see the politicization and the theologicalization or whatever of medical issues. It becomes a political and a theological issue.
It's very weird. And like that's the thing about like religious indoctrination as a whole, is that you can't separate real people's lives and the things that they're actually dealing with, because there's plenty of religious people that have abortions. There's plenty of religious people that
The majority
are in queer relationships. There are plenty of religious people that, think, like any sort of like imperialism over like one person over another is bad. Like there's plenty, like it's like nothing's a monolith. But it's still like, even within progressive religions, it's still like my idea is better than your idea. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's nice. How do we show that? Because then you're putting your own interpretation onto God. But God doesn't exist as far as we know. So you're just putting your more, whatever this looks like, whether it's liberal Christianity or liberal Judaism or liberal paganism or whatever the fuck we're talking about, you are still putting your personal feelings and your personal ethics onto a God, because this way it aligns with your values.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. And yes, I want to be aligned with the people that are progressive, whatever, because you are aligned with my values, but I'm still going to question you going, why do you need a God? Like, can't you just let that go and just realize that you're just a human and we're dealing with other humans, and it's totally okay. I'm still going to push against your philosophy, even though you're aligned with my value.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think that's really,
because I just like to be obstinate.
Well, yeah, I mean, if that's like the nature of the relationship, like I've got some buddies, that are religious, and we share the same values. Now I've got some buddies. I mean, that's so weird. I've noticed so many of my buddies in the past, like 5 to 6 years, have really started becoming way more religious, like in their 30s and 40s. And
that is.
It's so interesting to me right now. And I've had to distance myself from people because, and I hate it. I fucking hate it. I hate having to distance myself from people. But
I know it sucks. I've had to distance myself from my family because of similar reasons, and I don't want to, but
yeah,
it is.
I'll probably get crucified for this, but like I've got some buddies who voted for Trump. I think it's fucking terrible, but I guess the difficulty I have with it is like, I know these people are like safe around Hunter, right? These guys have my back. These are people who know I'm queer and an atheist and say they love me and have shown me they love me. So then they tell me the reasons for voting for Trump, and I don't think it's reasonable, but I can understand from their perspective why that would make sense to them if that's what they believed. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Yep.
So like, I know people who have written off pretty much anybody who voted for Trump. Like, personally, I know people personally. I've been very public about it too. Or like think people are fucking stupid or immoral for doing that. And I just can't get on that. I cannot get behind it. I mean, fuck that guy. Fuck all those people.
I made it pretty clear. Like, if you saw if you voted for Trump, I can't associate with you anymore.
No, that makes sense.
Kind of voted against me.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And everybody, and my child, and everybody that I care about. So, even though we have and this is good for mental health. If
your boundaries are your
just
boundaries.
Because someone is your family member, you know this.
Yeah, dude.
Just because someone is your family member and you love them doesn't mean they need to be a part of your life.
Of course.
And if their values don't align with your values, it is not on you to try to convince them why you think the way that you think. You can just make a stand and be like, this is a no crossing zone. I am not going to let you put a line in the sand and put your toe over. No, this is a brick wall. This is a thing that is going to cause active harm. The way that your actions and the way that you voted is going to cause active harm to people in my community that I cannot allow.
I agree. I do agree. And here's the problem I have. And here's what kills me. You ever read the book The Giver?
Yes, I did read that book. It's a very good book. I actually read it in college as part of a young adult series, young adult literature course I took. So I read a lot of really good books at that time.
Yeah.
So I read that. I read at the time. I love that book.
So spoiler alert.
The series sucks. Don't watch the movie. The movie sucks. The book's way better.
No.
Don't watch the movie.
Yeah, the movie. Yeah. So if it's a spoiler alert, they kill babies, right? And they're not aware of it, right? And they like live babies. They dispose of them. They kill them. But they have no clue that's what they're doing. Is they're actually killing humans and doing terrible, atrocious things. And they're only aware when they're aware, right? So, like, the difficulty I have is this. So I've used the example before because, I'm repeat myself. But if you look at a rabid dog, right? that rabid dog is going to cause harm. Right. It's going to harm itself. It's going to harm anything around it. And anything that it harms, sadly, will start causing harm to other things. Right. Rabies is victimizes. Now, I definitely know that the rabid dog cannot be around my family. Right. But at the same time, if there was, let's say, a cure for rabies, and that rabid dog originally hurt my family, but then once it was cured, it would just is the sweetest dog ever and loves my family, then I shouldn't ever hold that dog responsible for its behaviors, right? So the way I understand humans is that humans have no choice whatsoever. I'm not convinced that we can make any choices, at least in the way that we think about choice. We do things. We don't really choose. We just do. That's neither here nor there.
It just feels like choice.
It feels like it. It's what we call it or whatever. So,
but I'm hoping that higher thinking will engage. Like, why do I feel compelled to do this thing? Like, I think that can serve us. Like, if we're analyzing the choice.
But what if that higher thinking has been, foreclosed or subjugated by thinking?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. This is the thing about moral philosophy. It gets really sticky.
So when you get somebody who votes for Trump, I don't know, because the thing that scares me is that it's so fucking absurd, like Trump and all that shit, the conservatism. It's so
how do we find a cure for fascism? I don't know.
So it's so glaringly absurd that the fact that people think it is the right thing to do and the best thing, and we had less turnout for this. I mean, it's insane, the dynamics of this past election.
It's a little wild. Like, I think that there's been, I think, like, this is my kind of perspective. Like, because Kelly was on last week talking about, like, how we lost. And I think a lot of it is unspoken misogyny and racism. I think also, too, that she entered late in the game. She wasn't completely clear on certain things, like what's happening in Palestine, like that whole situation. Like, because I've heard a lot of people say that the reason why they did not vote for her was that reason alone.
100%.
Which is a one issue voter. Like, I get it.
Yep.
And it's not just it's just not like, why did the left lose? It's because it's messaging. It is how we approach certain ideas. It is, again, what is actual representation and how it is presented. I don't think a lot of people on the left have actually looked at their N-word misogyny and racism within themselves.
Yeah.
I think they do performative progressivism, but they
Yeah.
don't. But when push comes to shove, they're actually kind of uncomfortable with it.
Well, I agree 100%. I mean, I
So
agree
it's
100%.
complicated, and I think that when we're looking at indoctrination, like you can say, oh, I don't like, racism is terrible. Okay. Yeah. Like as a, let's say you're a Christian. Okay. And they do a lot of lip service to this. Like they do like, no Christian, like, racism is obviously bad. Okay, cool. Yeah. But when push comes to stuff, they don't actually they want people of color to conform to their idea of what non-racism looks like. They still have this idea that it's individual. It's not a systemic issue, because that would remove their privilege. And they're still doing this performative sort of like, I like you, and I want to be your friend, but please don't point out the ways that I'm being racist.
Oh yeah, and also, I mean, what we're calling the left, the Democrats, I mean, that shit is not left.
No, no, it's not. I'm like, you are not progressive. I am so like, and like, I did want Kamala to win because I definitely did not want what's coming. Please enjoy your last 3 weeks, everybody. Enjoy your last 3 weeks. It's going.
No, this is fucked. I mean, it's just gonna be more of the same and worse, So it's not like we saw.
It's not so much me, because like I've talked about this before. Like I can blend. My kid and other people that I know can't. So that's the thing that scares me. If you cannot blend, if you cannot be, if you don't feel safe. Or I've had people like from the Hispanic community that I know that are trying to figure out a way, like how do we get out of the country? Is my family member going to be deported? Like these are legitimate concerns. And this is based on indoctrination. It's an indoctrination of this, and this is what religious thinking does, and this is what groupthink does, is that one group is better than another group, and that group, for me to hold a certain amount of superiority, I must suppress another group. This is why we have thousands of different religions, because my idea is better than your idea, so I have to suppress another human being for those ideas, for my idea to be legitimate. When it comes to sexuality, gender, religion, political party, whatever.
Well, yeah, that's that individual dissonance that it gets extended to a group performance of tribalism.
Exactly, we're all going to be the Borg.
Well, I mean, it kind of is the Borg. We're kind of geared to be that way, right? To be kind of symbiotic. But the problem is that the masses are, I mean, a lot of people talk about it, easily swayed, right? The masses are easily swayed. And sadly, they've kind of got us by the cojones because of the wealth disparity and the fact that we have to worry about things like rent and healthcare and paying bills. And that stuff's insane, especially with the amount of money that we make. It's insane.
Last year we went to a tent revival because my friend Sarah, who is a Satanist, was like, hey, I want to do like a Satanic tent revival. So we went to a Christian tent revival. Oh my God. I hated every single fucking minute of it.
It's exhausting.
I didn't grow up in charismatic, like evangelical Christianity. I grew up Catholic, and which is, they don't do this shit. They don't do faith healings or any of that stuff. That does not happen. And the saddest thing was this couple that had like a 6-year-old child that you can tell was terminally ill.
Jesus Christ.
And they were looking for this fucking grifter to steal their kid. And that was like, I can't even pretend that this is real. Because they grew, like a few of the people I were with that were Satanists, that were they had grew up in these charismatic Christianity evangelical circles that they could play the part. I was so deeply uncomfortable. I'm like, Sarah, I love you and I'm going to support you, but this is so
I got to go. Yeah.
Fucked up. Like,
It's
this
super
is so
fucked up.
And that's not their fault.
No,
It's
dude.
not their fault because they are desperate. Because guess what? The medical system has failed them because whatever treatment that their child needs to even to have even some sort of functionality that they like to have some sort of normal life, or for someone to say we are going to try to reduce suffering, but like, you know, like being honest with them about the reality of their situation. They were Hispanic. I am assured that they were pushed into this by religious ideas and that God would kind of fix their fucking problem.
Well, they probably didn't drive a Benz or fly a jet up to that tent revival either.
Right. Like,
No.
oh, this guy, like this motherfucker. Oh, I looked into him, has so much fucking money. Like,
Of course,
I'm sorry.
dude, fuck
Like,
this guy.
these
Fuck all these
fucking people, I hate them so much.
Oh
Like,
yeah, dude.
and I was just sitting there and I had such empathy because as a mother, like you're a parent, like you would do anything to make sure that your child is okay and healthy.
Everybody dies.
And this, hi, pragmatic, hi, honey. So, like the idea that they were forced into going to a faith healer because the system had failed them.
Yeah, it's
and I can't fault them for that because they were indoctrinated into very bad ideas. The system that we exist in, we live in a very capitalistic, like why is healthcare tied to a capitalistic system?
monetarily incentivized. Well,
yeah,
if you
it's
notice,
incentivized, and insurance companies.
Dude, well, if you
This
notice,
is a very interesting conversation we've been having lately. But like,
well, there's
like,
similarities between that preacher.
I was just sad, like, and had such pity because I was just like, oh my god, like I'm like, and I wanted to go up to him. I'm like, please don't listen to these people. They are the worst people. You know?
No, I agree. There's it almost makes you wish that there was a God, because then that God could be like, fuck you, motherfuckers. Y'all are disgusting. Y'all did the, it's kind of the verse in Matthew. It's like, depart from me. I never knew, you said you did things in my name and blah, 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 blah. I never knew you. Depart from me. Many will come in my name and whatever. I think it's in Revelation and Matthew. I think I'm kind of mixing the verses, but I wish that was the case. I wish that, the urge for revenge type of thing, the only justification for death penalty is the urge for revenge, right? So but my human urge for revenge is that people like that guy and people who clearly know they are not, quote, true believers, right? They're grifters, like you said, but they get people who are actual true believers and they fucking sell their soul. I mean, dude, the church I grew up in was like, why go to church? The apocalypse is coming. Why work hard? Why save a bunch of money? Why do all that? Church, apocalypse is coming. Apocalypse is coming. So, like, I was convinced, even like after I abandoned any religious belief, I was still convinced that the world was going to end. I was still very like fatalistic and this, that, and the other. I stopped caring about everything. So a lot of those ideas carried through. And especially I hit such massive depression after losing I remember not the specific date, but like the day and the clarity where it all just went poof. It just said, no, I said, no more. Fuck all of this. This is a joke, and it's just the fucking, I was already dealing with depression like crazy, but the wave just finally.
That's why I'm on medication for it.
Dude, why? Like, I'm on therapy.
I love the chemical imbalance in my brain.
Oh my god, it sounds like a lot of fun. So so it's hard, man, because like you just fucking start spiraling and going nuts. Because again, it's like we talked about earlier. You're not equipped to handle life on life's terms. You actually think that. You actually think that it might be a possibility that going to this fucking scumfuck at this quote revival is going to do anything for your dying child. That's terrible, because God's not, doesn't, if God's there, you don't give a fuck. you know, so about your dying child. He's more concerned about that guy's jet.
Right. Like, and that's the thing that I find, sorry, like I was going to make a point, but I just, this is really funny. A fascist lesbian. Okay, if you're a fascist alien, lesbian aliens to avenge a child, are you a fascist? Like, I have a question. But it's one of those things that, like, this is a thing that, like, when we don't have real critical thinking skills, education, access to real information, how to vet, because I was explaining to like somebody, I don't know, I was like the algorithm on the Google knows, like, when I put in like like, for example, how many species are express homosexuality, and a bunch of scientific studies will show up. The algorithm knows that Helen likes real science.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I was someone that was biased, and I, out of the 1,000 articles that I was presented, I picked the one that shows that only like 2 species or whatever like show queerness, the algorithm is going to be like, okay, it's just going to feed you your bias.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're 100%, dude. It's fucking terrifying.
And people don't realize this. I'm like, no, because you're feeding the algorithm the information. That's what AI does. AI doesn't have a free thinking agent. AI is just reacting to, okay, this is what people want, and I'm going to feed back to it. Because that's what we do.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I mean, that's what they saw the problem.
That's why AI is racist.
Well, that's literally what you're pulling my words out of my mouth. Like literally, like what I was about to say. That's why we see it, because it's just going to feed in to what you're already putting into it. There's no thought behind it. There's no consciousness. It's got little commands, do this. If not, it's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. It's not fucking, considering itself. Right? That's just
right. Like, it doesn't, like, and this is why I don't think like AI is going to, like, I don't know what sentient would be unless it's going to be a racist, terrible motherfucker. Like, because we, at least with our one, we have creativity, and we're able to, yes, we are pattern seeking creatures, and there's certain things, but there's also certain things that we gravitate towards, but there's also things that we can be, those of us that go, I align with people that not only agree with me on like human right values, but we can disagree on a whole bunch of other shit. Like, I think recognizing that is really important. Like, I want everybody to have access to healthcare and education and be able to live the life that they want, as long as they're not hurting anybody. The rest is up to debate.
Well, even it's interesting you bring up the hurting thing. Like, I even think somebody who's hurt somebody, even if they get quarantined, I don't believe in, I think the prison system is disgusting. I believe in quarantine over prison.
I really don't like the idea of solitary confinement.
No, it's
like
disgusting.
Even for like the worst people. Like,
I can't. No.
I think that's inhumane.
The worst people are. I mean, yeah. The thing is, it's
like even the worst person, even the worst fucking person, I still should not be subjected to that. No. I think that they should have to deal with the social consequences, and for people to point out what a terrible piece of shit they are.
Well,
I think that's more,
like, or even that, me. Or even then you remove them from society and you quarantine them in an area that keeps them from harming anybody who's their target audience, I guess. But you also give them work, and they put back into society that they harmed, and you still feed them and give them health care.
I think there's a big difference between like a Ted Bundy versus like some dude that like sold weed, like and ended up in like a system that is, because like for example, someone like Ted Bundy, kind of a terrible person. like because there's certain people we know that will because of the way their brain is, will never learn empathy. They will never learn certain like social positive behaviors. We know this. Like there are certain people that their brain it's not able to change.
Yeah, pro-social.
Though at the same time, is that true? Because we could always develop new psychiatric and psychological perspectives that maybe that they can't be released into society, but they could at least learn the difference between right and wrong, and maybe become more reflective, and maybe not cutting off people's breasts was not a good act. And
we can
work towards that. Like, what does that look like? But again, people like who was the guy that murdered his mom? And
you're talking about not Dennis Rader. You're talking about what's old Bumblebutt? What's his name?
I know
who you're talking about. He had sex with his mom.
Edward.
Oh God, I was literally talking. He's a big old guy. It's a big tall guy. He's like 6'7", 6'8".
Fascinating motherfucker that had so much inner insight into
Kemper.
himself.
Ed Kemper.
Yeah. Okay. We're talking about Ed Kemper. Okay. Fascinating motherfucker. Do you I don't know what the line is. No, not Geen. But having so much insight to yourself, do you have enough intellectual insight but versus emotional intelligence? I don't know what that looks like. But he did agree that he should not be released into the public. That takes a lot of fucking awareness. He was like, I should not be allowed to be part of society.
Yeah, but he also shouldn't be beaten and starved and
no, I don't think he should be beaten and starved. I don't think that he should be put into solitary confinement. I don't think that he should be treated less than a human being. If you have enough intellectual ability going, I know that I am completely fucked up and I should not be part of normal society, I'm at least that is a moral responsibility, because that's the thing that we always talk about. What is moral responsibility? To recognize that we are moral, we are creatures that can cause harm. And even with people that do extreme harm, if they have the ability to say, I cannot be part of normal society because the way that I am, I have way more respect for that, for someone that says no, it's perfectly fine for me to cut off people's breasts, or whatever, whatever fucked up shit, and then or people that say that children sexually seduce them.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I'm okay, you're a terrible piece of shit.
Now, see,
and
the
that's
thing
where
is,
the moral gray comes in.
Well,
right?
The thing is, I can't look at. Well,
it's hard.
A piece of shit and a motherfucker and stuff like that because of the automatic implications of interacting with them and their decision making and what they're pushing. But when you really boil it down, everybody has as much choice as anybody else, right? So, which I don't think is any. So while I think these, certain people's a piece of shit and I fucking don't like them, but that's my psychology. That's my psychology and biology responding to them, understanding that they're a threat. I translate, fuck that guy, he's a piece of shit, to he's a threat. His goals and his actions and behaviors are a threat.
Should he be allowed access to children? No,
exactly. But still, a person like that should be. They're the same. We're all the same. We're all humans, and I believe that they should also be quarantined. That now may be a much more extreme quarantine, but the quarantine where you're that type of person and high recidivism, and there's no way. I mean, to me, there's certain things that just break our social contract to the point that it's irreparable or irreparable. It's irreparable damage. So, but at the same time, just because you break such an extreme social contract, I think that person, I think the death penalty is, an atrocious thing. Murder doesn't, what does murder solve? Now we could talk about revenge, personal revenge, state sanctioned murder. No. Now, somebody harms my family and I go do a thing that could be debated. I like the topic of revenge and I think it's really interesting, but I digress. I think, again, parading somebody around like they're evil or actually truly believing they're evil is silly, right? Now they're harmful and they they're in a, let's say they're in a position of power to where the words that come out of their fucking mouth has some type of gravitas and people actually do things because of their stupid, crazy fucking words. Yeah, that needs to stop. And that person needs to shut the fuck up. I can understand why people feel like that recent rich guy who was shot in the streets, people feel like it's justified. I can understand that. I agree with violent revolution when
Especially
necessary.
when we found out like the guy had a chronic disease that he was constantly being denied for.
Well, no, he had a
Like,
chronic disease and he had a lot of mental health issues. So
yeah,
that guy
and
was
like
really horrible.
and well, that because we can understand that physical pain can cause mental distress,
Oh, yeah,
which
dude.
causes
Yeah.
like and
Yeah.
and we don't know his history. Like if he had like true like mental health issues and then got a chronic like we all understand that like physical distress can cause mental distress.
Oh,
I've
dude.
experienced this myself. That being said, do I think murder is okay? No.
Yeah, but then
I
that
can
goes
understand, I can empathize with the wanting to do the act, but
Yeah.
the actual act I cannot justify. Like I can't be okay with that because you are not allowing that person. Because like we don't know the future of certain human beings to become better people. Because there have been plenty of people, like we were talking about Ed Kemper before, who recognizes that he is a piece of shit, and he recognizes that he is a piece of shit, and he cannot exist within normal society because he knows this about himself. And and like we said, true psychopaths have specific brain structures. There was some guy, I can't remember his name right now, that he has the brain of a psychopath and then studied himself. And because he was given positive reinforcement and positive social interactions when he was growing up, that he did not develop into abusive behaviors.
Yeah.
Because the environment was because he had loving, caring parents and loving, caring friends that encouraged pro-social behavior.
Now I'm going to pull
it's not.
There's a guy named Professor Sam Vaknin who he talks about that. He more or less wrote the book on narcissistic abuse, but he also talks about how he's a narcissist and has psychopathic tendencies. I mean, this guy was like in college, when he was graduating college before he, got laid type of thing. Like this guy's smart as fuck. His IQ, I think, is one of the highest IQs in the world. Like
Is
it's
this the
insane.
guy that's at MIT?
I don't know. I just know back. I mean, he's studied everywhere. This
He's
guy's
super smart man.
super smart.
He's a big brain person.
But he said that his smartness, he's like, it's great. I can't interact with anybody properly. He's like, my wife will tell you I'm like a 5-year-old child. He's like, I'm irrational and this, that, and the other. He goes, I'm smart as fuck. He goes, but what good is that? He's like, I just never had any luck with girls. He's like, the things that he just like really cared about.
Yeah, Frankenstein, the neurologist that saw his own MRI. Yeah, that guy. Like he did a whole TED talk about like how he discovered he was a psychopath by doing his own MRI. But then he realized that social psychology and social influence kept him from being like a terrible person.
Yeah, super cool.
It's crazy how much the environment, because nature, nurture.
Now, I mean, if I could throw out a name, guy named Robert.
like because we can point to like bringing this back to like religion. Like we can think of like, I'm going to use an example of Mr. Rogers. Protestant, he was a Presbyterian minister. Also, one of the kindest, most wonderful human beings ever to existed. Totally religious person. And whenever like, if I bring up Mr. Rogers and I think about him for more than 5 minutes, I'm going to cry. Because he was a wonderful, because he had so much empathy. And also he worked with child psychologists and people that studied child development to want to bring pro-social behavior into children so they would develop into good human beings.
Yeah.
And was religious. I'm not going to poo-poo on that because he's one of my personal heroes. And like some of them, when I think about like, how do we influence the next generation? I want to be like Mr. Rogers. Where we can think of other people within religious groups, like like Mark Driscoll or the motherfucker that abused you or whatever, or like my CCD teacher, that when the sexual abuse scandal came out from the Boston Globe, because I was living in New Hampshire at the time, it was a little too close to home because the Boston diocese was in part of, you know, pushing certain priests and dares, ended up committing suicide.
Jesus.
So
Jesus.
there's those people too.
Yeah, it kind of responds back to what we were talking about earlier about allies. I think we have a personal responsibility as people who have dealt with traumatic shit due to religion. We have that responsibility to work through that, because we have a responsibility to ourselves, because working through life every day with the filter of trauma on everything, and especially religious trauma, in a sense, you're still giving that shit power over you. I say giving, I say that with loosely. That stuff still has power over you. You're still experiencing it.
You're not. I don't like giving. I like you're influenced by it.
Influence shit. You're steered.
I like not. You're not giving it over to you. That you're still influenced by. Because if you could choose to not give it, you would. You would.
Well, no, exactly.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't be like. You would be like, no, I reject this. But trauma, your brain is wired that way. Trauma is going to respond the way you do, and when it takes that thinking slow part of your brain to go, is this reactionary, and taking that step back.
Well, yeah,
like I think that's really important for us to give ourselves grace, that we would not be giving these things precedent or power if we weren't deeply influenced by them.
Well, deeply influenced by them and still living as though that situation is the present.
Right, because that's what trauma does. Welcome to PTSD. And I think that also too with PTSD, people think that it's going to manifest in like a extreme trauma response. It is instinctual. It is that we are constantly on this hypervigilance. It's subconscious because we're constantly looking for threats, and anything that we're not registering it 100% within the conscious brain, but we're just like, this is a pattern that I know, and it usually leads to bad things. I'm going to react this way. That's what it really, like, that's what complex PTSD is. It is not like immediate emotional, like, overwhelmingness. It is like this pattern of like, this person is triggering something in me that is related to a certain trauma that I have, that you have those protective, almost instinctual reactions to that people don't really understand. Because I think that when PTSD is shown in, for example, in media, it's not actually how the way that PTSD works.
No, well, that's media for you right there.
It can be very subtle.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, the same thing like that movie, A Beautiful Mind, schizophrenia, things like. I mean, it's media does such a piss poor job. You know, they have schizophrenics screaming and running around, and it's like, man, half the time those dudes are catatonic. You know, I mean,
right? Or like they're like, I had one guy, like, not in my way, but my best friend had, like, he was working in a mental health facility, that their schizophrenia manifested as bunnies just showing up when he was emotionally distressed, and there would be a bunch of bunnies around, like, and it was just a hallucinatory reaction to, like, there would be like good bunnies and bad bunnies, like that is but he wasn't violent. He didn't act out. It was like, there's bunnies, there's the good bunnies, and then there's the bad bunnies. And he had distinctive sort of bunnies that would show up as a hallucination. And he even knew that he's like, my brain's just doing with some weird shit.
Yeah. God, that's what a difficult thing to have to deal with. Man, what a terrible thing that
I cannot imagine, because like I do recommend playing Senua's Saga of the Hellblade series, the first game. Wonderful game. because they actually had people that have schizophrenia and have these delusions.
Yeah.
And they talk to neuroscientists, psychologists, psychiatrists, people that actually suffer from this condition to influence the game. And it is crazy because you're like, if you play with headphones, you get the actual experience to have different voices in your head influencing your decisions and doubting yourself, like, because it influences you. Like, even as a player, when you know it's not real, that emotional instinction to hear a voice and saying like you're not good enough, like you're crazy, you're not good enough, that background voice, even though it's not real, influences you. Same with religious trauma, that like the devil is in the details, like you're not good enough, you're a piece of shit. Like, it can be schizophrenic in sensation because it's not you, it's not who you are as a core person. I've heard people that have like dissociative identity disorder, when they integrate their personalities. I've heard them describe that some of them, like, it's not just one personality, we just all learn to cooperate. And I think that is more understanding of the complexity of the human brain, rather than like you need to be like one person, one identity. You can be multiple identities, but is it healthy?
Well, you see also with autism, there's a lot of camouflaging and masking. It's not so much, I'm putting on a mask to present like a different person, but you learn how to like mimic the social situation and try not to stand out too much, right? So that's a big problem, especially for like people who are I got an itch on my back, who are like late diagnosed autism. You see a lot of you see that with a lot of men, actually, like late diagnosed autism. And generally the men, it's almost
It's so weird because like Todd's been suspecting he's on the spectrum. Like he, like in his 50s, he's like there's so much about like the sort of psychology of like autism and people that are on the spectrum. I'm like, yeah, because a lot of the times you do so much masking that you fool yourself.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting how that happens. So
yeah,
there's a lot of that identity stuff involved in that. And then since religion is really like, once I was finally honest with myself about it and kind of away from all the trauma and all that shit, I realized that like, those weren't my voices, that those weren't my opinions, those weren't my ideas. And since it's already real hard being autistic to like really pinpoint how I'm feeling in situations and really pinpoint like how to handle and like why people are acting a certain way, sometimes you just kind of find yourself like kind of locked and watching, being like, okay, well, maybe I'm missing something. So maybe this is really how people are supposed to act. And I'm the weird one, so there's always a lot of that. But then there's also that natural vibe of like, people are acting fucking weird. This is weird. But you already have such difficulty trusting yourself. So like you said, if you've been in kind of narcissistic dynamics your whole life, your ability to trust yourself is already diminished. On top of, it's just
like, because you're like, those of us that are neurospicy, like I like directness, because I have, as part of an ADHD person, we have perceived rejection dysphoria, which this is new research, which once I learned about this, it explains so much of my life, where because you're hypervigilant and you're taking in information at a certain level to all the time, that also part of the dysphoria of our dopamine not doing what it's supposed to do, we will other parts of our brain get hyper vigilant. One of those things is the emotional center. Now, if you say to me, Helen, I don't want to come on your podcast, like, and you could just say this, like, we haven't talked for a while, and you were like, Helen, I want to come on your podcast, I'm going to have to wait a while. If at any time we had a disagreement, even though like we're friends and we love each other, my brain will automatically go, Jason doesn't like me anymore. Like, I pissed off Jason. I did something to Jason. This is not real, but the emotional reaction to it is real.
It's as though I've already rejected you and
I've already
told you those
rejected
things.
me, even though it had nothing to do with, like, it could just be like, I'm just really fucking busy. I'm not in a good place, but you didn't explain it to me. My brain will all fill in the gaps. So the gaps are not Jason's going through shit. It is, you don't like me anymore. You're mad at me.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
Which is, once I've understood that, I now know to go, is this actually real, or is it just be like Jason's fucking busy and he's just going through some stuff and he doesn't want to talk to me about it? Like, also, you're neurospicy and, like, you know, talking about that stuff may not be comfortable for you, whatever it is, you know. And I learned to separate that like 3 years ago.
That's so funny.
Like 3 years ago, I've learned to understand that. And I still have defensive mechanisms against it. And that shows that people that are on these spectrums have a different way of relating to emotions, of social interactions. This is why I'm like, please tell me what you actually mean and tell me so there's no ambiguity, because my brain's going to automatically fill in gaps.
Yeah, dude, that's one of the biggest problems I have with religious claims in general is that, like, if I'm being like wholly intellectually honest, when people string those words together that they think mean something and they have like a lot of emotional responses and blah, blah, they don't, it sounds like gibberish. If we're really being honest, like words like salvation and redemption and divinity, and they don't mean anything. They're just, they're mouth sounds. So it's like the atheist label is really interesting to me because it talks about coherency and the ability to even consider a proposition, or if it can even be considered a proposition, or if there's even an it. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I'm having. I found out I had difficulties, and I kind of filled in my own gaps. Like when religion was happening in my life, I would just, which I think everybody does, but it's was maybe a little more apparent, but everybody fills in those gaps. Words like grace, Frankenstein.
That like, grace is like I say, I give someone grace. I think that I'm allowing them space. Yeah. Like I'm allowing you space for this, you know. Like I think that it's a colloquial term, like using like evil. You know, like we can, it's a descriptor. It doesn't really hold anywhere like real value, you know. Because like grace, I like the word, even though it has too much religious context associated to it. Like I feel like I'm giving, like when I say I'm giving you patience and kindness, and I'm extending a little bit of generosity to you.
Well, for me, I think maybe a stronger example is the term faith.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about this lately.
Faith is weird.
Well, because people equate faith with belief, but belief is belief. Okay, so if we look at faith first is a quote gift from the Holy Spirit, and then they go to describe it in Hebrews 11 and all that shit. But I think we can stop at the gift from a Holy Spirit. I mean, if we put those words together, we know what a gift is from the, like, okay, so holy, like, what the fuck is a gift? You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really comport to like the ability to have a discussion, right? I mean, there's so that's what I have a problem with. Like, so I don't know how to even like consider a lot of these things anymore. Yeah. Somebody's like, you know, when just the term God alone is, I don't even know. It just sounds like a mouth sound at this point. So it's really hard being a person, like you said, who has very much of a tendency to make everything a list. That bred so much anxiety in me as a person who was attempting to be religious and had some type of religious beliefy things going on, I was so anxious all the time because I couldn't find a thing in itself. I couldn't
Right.
find that thing, and everybody meant a different thing by it. That's why I love science. That's why I love math. That's why I love music. The notes are the notes. The things are the structures are the structures. We can add, we can build, we can play with them, but they are what they are, and we can identify them. With religion, it's unidentifiable, and you're being accused by an accuser that is quite obviously non-existent, but yet still I can't even defend myself because the accusations don't even make sense, but somehow I'm damned socially and I guess spiritually, whatever that word means.
Well, I like Todd has said, like, music is a religion for him. Not in like a literal sense, like, like he's worshiping like the muses or whatever, but he goes, I have this transcendent experience, which is a reaction in my brain of the emotional experience of what it's like to be a human being.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I love a ritual. like as a former pagan and someone that loves a ritual, I love a show. And I think ritual is very important to us as human beings because it signifies transitions in our lives and things that are meant to be special, like graduation, weddings, you having a baby showers. Like, these are rituals that we do as people to signify transitions in our lives, funerals, like changing of seasons. Like, if you remove all the religious bullshit from like nature rituals, it is literally us going passages of time. We are recognizing that this is a season of our lives and we are moving through it, whether it be through the manifestation of the seasons or us going through our own personal seasons. And I think that is important. Doesn't have to have any sort of spiritual significance to it, but it affects us on a personal level, and that's something that should be celebrated.
Well, yeah, you're dedicating you are intentionally setting aside a time for peace, right? Yeah.
I don't think there's anything essentially wrong with that. And I understand like religion, like this is something that I've been trying to do through my activism, is showing the importance of ritual. That was one of the things that I learned within paganism, the importance of ritual. But removing any sort of supernatural spiritual aspect of it, just making it a humanistic act.
Yeah.
I think that, and that can look how you ever wanted to fucking look like. Like, I love the symbolism of paganism. It's very cool. I kind of dig it. As a goth, weird, neo-pagan, atheo-pagan weirdo, like, this is something that I jive on, that I think we should incorporate more into our existence. Like, we did a ritual without religion at the last excursion for recovering from religion, to get people out of, the witnessing aspect of like fireside rituals, that you were letting. We told people, bring shit from your religious past that you want to fucking burn, like, because that physical act affects us psychologically.
I agree.
Because we are constantly interacting with the physical environment. So we are constantly psychologically connected to those things, and letting go to certain aspects of that can be healing for us. And it's like when your ex moves out and you throw all his fucking clothes like onto the fucking lawn and you're screaming at him for being a piece of shit. That is a physical act that I do not want you in my life anymore. You burn photographs, you get rid of shit that isn't healthy for you. When your ex leaves, that is a physical act of letting go.
Yeah.
And that is very important for us as human beings. And I think that what religion does, it says that these acts are only for sacred things. And if you don't do it in a sacred way, then it doesn't have any significance. And I think that the idea of ritual is very important. And this is the thing, like, And Taylor from the Anti-Bot pointed this out in a really good video about like how religion, the belief and practice enforces the indoctrination, which I agree. But when you leave religion and you're going, how do we reinterpret that? And how do we make it about ourselves and transition and becoming better people and how it affects our lives on a personal level? Because like one of the things we hear at RFR is like, I really liked doing like ritual. I liked going to church. I liked having that community. I liked, those sort of signifiers of, changes in the year or changes within myself. And they don't want to perform them anymore because they so much associate it with belief. How do we help people get to that point where they're letting that go and moving into a place of more of a secular performance of ritual, but you don't actually have to believe anything? Like Halloween is a perfect example.
No, I agree. For me, ritual is paramount in my life. Yeah. You have spaces like, I have my practice spaces for the band. I have the gym that I fight at. And you have your clothing you wear, you have your space that's dedicated, that's set aside for that. You have people who are dedicated and set aside for that. There's behaviors. You do it on certain times. Even Emily was joking, is like, you don't miss band practice. I go, I don't miss band practice. She goes, you could be exhausted.
That's a rule.
I do not miss band practice, And then like I get up and I go to the gym. This is what I do. These are rituals that I have, and I have my bags and I have my things and I have my stuff and I do it and I repeat it and I repeat it and I repeat it. Now the thing is, like, if you're doing like kind of like what I'm doing, to where I'm, trying to get better at something or do a thing. Well, I mean, that's active joy. I mean, it takes time and it's a lot of work, but it's kind of like akin to like equating it back to like a magic practice. Like, it's a practice, right? You're working on it. You're developing it. It's ritualistic. The same thing goes with like our music and how we write songs. Now we understand, okay, we write songs this way and this is how we do it. And I wait and it's, and you have a ritual and all kind of falls in line and it's a thing. You don't really have to think about it. And then, the worship or the meditation part involved is like playing the live show or sparring or doing the things that, like, after you've been doing your practice, you can do them now. And generally that's, you do them so much, you don't even think about it. And it's that kind of term muscle memory. So no, I think it's necessary. Humans need a necessary social group. I mean, for me, MMA was huge. It's playing music is fucking huge for me whenever it comes to being happy about myself, with accomplishing things, with creating cool stuff, keeping myself young, youngish up here. And
like keeping the big brain.
Yeah, so
it's a gray matter, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. Physically too,
which is actually shown in science that the more that you learn, the more that you retain gray matter. So
yeah, no, it's really interesting. So if I hadn't, well, I mean, I'm working through. So there's some difficult stuff going on in my life right now. Nothing terrible, but very difficult. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I get it. So if it weren't for my exploits and my rituals, then I would just be, and for me, setting aside times dedicated to peace and dedicated to calmness that have nothing to do with the rest of my life. Literally a thing for, I hate quoting Nietzsche. It's typical for some white guy with tattoos.
Todd will tell you that he read more Nietzsche than a lot of scholars have read. And he said like nuggets of wisdom in a pile of shit. Like, he was mostly a nutburger. Yeah,
pretty much.
But like piles of wisdom in a pile of shit, like little tiny diamonds.
But he highlighted on doing things like just for themselves, right? Doing music for music's sake, art for art's sake, like a thing for itself. So, and I mean, psychologically, that's very true, that it needs to happen. We talked about it with my doctor today, that there needs to be time apportioned, especially when there's things that are like a crisis, or a thing that no matter what you do, there's no changing it, or maybe there is changing it, but it involves a ton of fucking work and it's exhausting. You have to set aside that time. And that's life in general, right? It's for somebody who's fucking poor or working class. Life's hard, man, no matter what. So you have
like
to set aside
I
that
have to
time.
have roommates to pay my bills. like my kid lives with me, and one of my best friends with me to help pay the bills. Like it has to happen.
Ellen,
Yeah.
I don't even,
But I also at the
Yeah.
same time, there's no fucking shame in it. There's
No.
really not, because like we live in a capitalist structure. This is just the way it is, and it's okay. And also too, the idea of like a single family unit happen is only a Western idea.
Oh no, dude, I get it. It's
fucking stupid.
I make pretty decent money, and I was overdrafted last week. Like I make good money, and
I know, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm overdrafted right now.
It's ridiculous, and it's not for lack of me like not working 60 hours a week every week. Me pulling in real money.
I work
week.
strictly 40 hours a week, which thank goodness.
wish I could.
Could work because I could work overtime, but I just don't fucking want to.
No.
But it's just the industries that we live in. But also, like my Christmas bonus is going to go pay for I need oil change and alignment on my car, which is a hootie.
I got T-boned back a month ago.
You see my car.
Yeah,
You see my little hoopty.
Dude, somebody T-boned my work truck a few weeks ago.
Like this is all fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, like I don't really care about what my car looks like. I really don't. Like I honestly though I have admitted that I would like just like a backup camera. like that's like the backup camera. Like Todd has one of those on his fucking Corolla, and I was like, that's pretty sweet. like
so fucking
like
funny,
I don't even want like an advanced engine. I just want a backup camera. Which I could probably integrate into my phone, just putting on the reverse camera and having it like reflect on the back of my window. like I'm a very simple person. But at the end of the day, I don't I'm not impressed by fancy things, because I'm like, they're just things. I do want things that will make my life easier, because we're fucking human beings, and with simplicity. This is why I don't think intelligent design is the idea of complexity, is simplicity, because I know fucking human beings and we want things very easy. But at the end of the day, what I see is that I'm willing to make space for people that are religious, and I'm willing to make space for them as people. But religion as a whole, I see as toxic. I see it as something that is not a net good. Because at the end of the day, if you're a good moral person, if you get up every day trying to put good out into the world, whether or not that's framed within a religious context, you're a good person. But I see that as a humanistic value. Religion is the framework that you're using to be a good person. But I also see religion and any sort of terrible belief also for you to be an asshole.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, I see that with the difficulty I have is that I guess just from what I've studied, and that the religion I'm scared of is authoritarian, totalitarian religions.
Mm-hmm.
And then even then I'm not so scared of those. The only thing that makes me scared of those is whenever the social structures, your government, your politics, all that shit, are the same. That's when you see the religious harm happen. That's where you see issues with critical reasoning and identity foreclosure, and you see it because it's like you said, everything's political, right? But it's politicized, theology and politics, even though there's separation of church and state in name. We have no more
fucking each
separation.
other. It's not good.
Oh, dude, they're fucking docked. Those dudes are docked together. Two became one, man.
It's docking.
Boys are
No, it's
fucking-
not. It's not fucking. They're docking.
Yeah,
This is
they're
all
docking
penis.
at this point, dude.
Like it's all
And
penis.
it's-
There's no vagina involved.
No, not at all. If it was, then we'd be in a better spot, man. Shit. Bring some pussy in here and we'd be happy, but no. You just got two dicks trying to
And
fuck
it's
each
not
other.
even fun docking. It's not like gay docking. It's like
It's like angry
straight hate.
straight docking.
It's it's angry straight hate docking.
Straight hate, like dick fighting.
Like, it's not even fun.
They're still fighting with their dicks. And it's like, I'm still not gay. And it's like, dude, you fucking weirdo. But I think that's the problem.
It's how all the people at the Republican National Convention, like where there's an unprecedented amount of activity on Grindr.
The boys crashed fucking Grindr, man. So much butt fucking going on, man. It's unbelievable.
Like, dude, it's like who you fooling?
Fooling around with. That's what I'm saying. Jesus Christ, man.
You like dick. I like dick too. It's fine. Just admit it. It's fine.
Love it. I mean, it's attached to men, which is a problem, but
because you can misogynize a man according to their but also too, you kind of can if you're gay, because then and then it turns well, who's the guy, who's the dude in the relationship? It's like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, you start introducing
depends on the person.
Yeah, no, it's a problem, but I think it's I don't know. It's a, I guess, like,
sorry, you put it up there, Nancy. I'm gonna put it up. Calling your husband out.
So I get kind of respond to what you're saying.
This is getting off the rails now.
No. I'll bring it back home. It's a hard balance. Like, some people are clearly my enemies, and I don't think because they choose to be, but it's still, in my opinion, this is survival, and survival is number one, and survival and flourishing are number one for me and my family. So while I still have empathy for them, yeah, I feel you too. It's been a long day. While I still have empathy for them, and an enemy is an enemy. And if somebody is a threat to my family and my safety and my community and those, it's sad, because even though the soldier is fighting for their country for the same reasons, if they're shooting at me, what am I going to do? Just lay back and let it happen? They're going to take my family next. So I think it's a hard line to walk between allies and enemies, especially whenever you're working from a place of so much trauma that you're just fucking sick of it. So, I mean, we could talk about religious trauma for fucking months, and I feel like we're still just kind of breaking the iceberg on it, because it, like you said, it might need to be a part two. It kind of bleeds into every other aspect of life. It can't just be isolated as a thing in itself. It's because of the things that it affects that make it trauma. Right. The articles that I sent you that, you'll eventually post in here.
Which I will post if I can figure out how to do it without going through, having to get approval.
Yeah. No. Cool.
Onto the Jubilee do. I will put it there. But those, I encourage people to look up articles on religious trauma and how it affects the brain, how it affects our psychology, how it affects our social interactions, how it affects just us existing within society. Because even if you are a secular person, you're still being affected by religion. And that's the thing that kind of fucking sucks. Because even people that I know that have never been religious will talk about how religion affects them.
Yeah. No, it's a real shame, because it peaks because it more or less shaves all the branches off the tree, and you just got a big old fucking spike at that point. So it's one overarching kind of monolithic thing, and it's terrifying and continues to do so much damage in our society.
I don't really have much hope, but
I do believe that we can do better. Like we can allow spaces for people to have their beliefs, but also at the same time push against like things that will cause harm to other human beings.
yeah,
Like we
I
can
agree.
have both. Because your belief, like, you know, you might believe that, like, okay, like the universe is controlled by like a giant named Olaf, you know, like that's fine. But it's like Olaf telling me my gender expression. Like, then me and Olaf are going to have words. like I have problems with Olaf telling me that I can't express my gender the way that I want to.
Yeah,
Like, that's a conversation we can have.
Yeah, if Olaf is telling me,
Olaf is just like I put the universe into being. Like it's the same that like okay, fine, like cool, like that's fine. Like if Olaf believes that he put the universe into, if you believe that Olaf put the universe into being, that's fine. If Olaf starts telling me that I can't have rights, then we're gonna have a fucking conversation. That's
I agree.
the conversation that we're having.
Yeah, no, I agree.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Is that Olaf?
All right, so
what does Olaf
usually
say?
my podcast is only an hour and a half. I give you a whole extra hour because I'm
I appreciate you.
All right, so show your shit.
What's that? What I do?
Show like I'm gonna allow you to show like what you get, like what's coming up. Do you have anything coming up that you're going on other than being part of this community of Austin? Like, is there any like
new
things we should be aware of?
The new verbal abuse record is about to hit.
Okay.
On all platforms.
Please send me all the links so I can put in the doobly-doo of the description of the video.
Yeah, I will.
If I can figure out how, like, listen, y'all, I'm an old lady trying to figure out how YouTube works. So if I do not get all the things into the doobly-doo,
we can post it in the chat.
We can post it. So, but like, thank you. Like, I want to say thank you for Jason for being here. Also, I'm going to invite him back. It will probably happen sometime this year because I'm a whore for my friends. Also, at the same time, if you would like to be on the show or know someone, please email me at the email address above. Please follow me on all the socials. Also, I have, if you need secular support, why did I cut it when I just wanted to copy? Okay, so I'm going to put this thing on the chat. So go to those things. Go follow me on BlueSky. Go follow me on Instagram. Go to Recovering from Religion. If you need therapy, go to seculartherapyproject.org. Do all the things. Do all those things. Do the thing. Also, as well, so tomorrow night I'm going to be on Chris Shelton's podcast. Please go to his channel. Just put in Chris Shelton. And I'm going to be on his podcast tomorrow night talking about recovering from religion and religious trauma and activism and all those wonderful things. And probably about my time in paganism. And next Thursday, I'm going to have Jim Barrows come on the show. Do I know what Jim's going to talk about? No. But he's coming. So he'll be here next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Dude, Jim's so cool, man. I've hung out with Jim about.
I know, I love him. Like we become friends, which has been very cool. Because I was like, well, also, if you want to see more of me, every Tuesday night on the Atheist Community of Austin's TikTok channel, I yell at people on the internet about their religious beliefs. Like last week, I was told that I don't know is special pleading. Please explain that to me. And last night, I was told that evolution has been debunked. So these are the conversations
you didn't know?
I get it.
You didn't know about that one?
You didn't know. That's a thing. So please go follow us on our socials. Check out Jason on the nonprofits. Go check him out on his stupid face on the Atheist Community of Austin. Please go join our Discord. I should probably have more links, but I'm lazy. But we have, and if you need secular support, again, check out Recovering from Religion. Check out seculartherapyproject.org. Please take care of yourself. And going into the next week, I'm going to recommend everybody have a wonderful holiday season if you're celebrating. If not, I still hope you get presents. And also as well, be kind, give someone a compliment, stay skeptical, and always work on being a better person. And I will see you all next week. Say bye, Jason.
Helen. Bye, Jason.
Bye.